Now, debate 13. We have been waiting months for this due to scheduling that lining up. I'm Ice White, creator of Game Global. I'll be acting as moderator and hosting this debate between Dean Raymond and Erik Carlberg. We also have Ross Jeffries here debating against Erik for the second time. It's been a while since that one. Super chats, $5 USD or more will be read out, potentially increasing according to demand. Check the pinned comment for that. Let's start with Dean's concept of energy games. So, Dean, can you lead us off and tell us about that?
Of course. Yeah. So I came from a pickup background, and what I found was a lot of the teachings weren't effective. I actually studied it, I practiced it, and it's very logical. And when we're talking about connecting with people, connecting with a woman, creating attraction, having solid communication skills, it's all about being in a state of mind when you're not in your logical thinking head. You're in your body, you're relaxed, you're in the state of what we call no mind. The samurais, they reference that. Your best performance, your best expression, your ability to be able to attract women in a very natural, confident way is not coming from thinking. The steps and the systems involved in PUA, pickup artistry, is logical, is systematic. It puts you in your head. And if you're going out there and you're trying to get in a positive zone, you're trying to create attraction, you're trying to have meaningful connections, what I found was the more that I thought about this stuff, the more that I followed the steps that the pickup coaches outlay and recommend, the more I was stifled, the more I was in my head. So my excellence and my skill with women, with expression, with learning to enjoy myself and get out of my head came from the fact that I realized that there's a whole different internal emotional state going on when it comes to being attractive, being charismatic. And it's got nothing to do with these logical steps that the pickup artistry recommend and try and teach you. So energy game is a place where you get to a state of connection where all of your logical thinking, your inhibitions, your self-doubt starts to evaporate, and you go deeper within yourself and you connect to what psychologists call the authentic self. The authentic self is your real true self and feeling that who you are is good enough. Your authentic expression is good enough to attract a woman to make connections. You don't need any of that complicated garbage. So when I take guys out in the field or I teach them through my program, I'm not teaching them much about these logical steps, the seduction steps and the things to say and the storytelling skills, because human intuition runs much, much deeper than what you logically think about. Our ancestors did a great job at mating. We intuitively know how to do this, but our social conditioning, our feelings of unworthiness, the attachment and the obsession with trying to think our way through our interactions with women is distracting us from the realization and the ability that we can just get into a positive state and learn and calibrate and trust that our real self is good enough. So energy game is teaching guys not just how to get into state, not just how to pump your state and feel good for a night, but how to become the type of guy that truly believes in who he is. Game is, and being attractive to women it's who you are. It's not what you do. It's not a process that you follow. It's a realization that you are valuable. You are worthy. You're the fucking shit. You're attractive. That's, in essence, my realization, my explanation of what energy game is. Peak state, connection to joy, playfulness, real confidence, not a facade. It's an expression. Game is an art. It's not a science.
Any responses to that?
I have a little bit of a response, which is social intelligence and emotional intelligence. It doesn't necessarily require being in our head in terms of internal dialogue, but it does require that we are able to observe. And part of that requires a state where we're not fixated on outcome, and yet we're able to observe and to calibrate and to use whatever we pick up in a way where we can leverage it to create emotional states. Now, I agree with Dean massively, and I will add something. What I will add is the power of language to engineer emotional states, no matter what state you are in, to engineer emotional states from which women take action. If you leave that off the table, If you leave it off the table, you are leaving a significant amount of power behind. And I just want to say one more thing. I've taught thousands of students now, thousands and thousands. I've been in this game at least 32, 33 years. And I can assure you, I can swear to you on whatever is valuable to me, that the vast majority of my students, when they go to use these speed seduction language patterns, are nervous. They don't believe it's going to work. And it does work. In fact, so often it works to the point where they're so shocked they can't get it up. So I'm saying language in and of itself is massively powerful because it structures emotions, it engineers emotions. And as Dean said, we're not logical creatures. We make our actions from our emotions. So if you can engineer emotions on a consistent basis, you can engineer actions. Now, he's right. You have to do an external exploration and learn to find your own value and to learn to believe that you are in and of yourself of value. The challenge there is almost all men, I won't say almost all, but about 50 to 60% of men who step into this field have tremendous trauma. So I'm assuming Dean also has ways of dealing with that trauma and healing that trauma. Dean, you would agree that's an important step to heal that trauma and to deal with it.
Absolutely. I mean, if you take someone who doesn't believe in themselves and they do have trauma and they've got massive limiting beliefs and a negative self-image, and you tell them to go out and to do an indirect opener or tell a story, that's not happening. Unless they're in some kind of free association, some kind of positive state. There's no way that they're even going to be able to go up to an attractive girl and perform that line or perform that storytelling, because if they go up to an attractive girl and they've got limiting beliefs, they don't believe in themselves, they're not experienced with women, they weren't brought up right, they didn't have the right masculine guidance, they approach an attractive girl in a club who's the center of attention. That guy is totally disassociated. That's the definition of what it means to be in your head. I'm in my head. You're in your head because every ounce of your soul is telling you that you're not worthy for that woman. So how the hell are you going to convincingly, congruently deliver a pickup line, a storytelling method, when you're shaking to your knees? So, it's like a lot of these guys, 60%, 50% of guys that come on my program, they don't need dating advice yet. They need masculine guidance. They need someone to hold their hand and help them to feel good about themselves. And I would say the reason that guys are drawn to the pickup artistry is because they're trying to find a way to not feel completely invisible to women, but they're not ready to go and do that. So if you send someone out to do all these methods, they're not going to learn. It's not going to happen. Like you don't get true core confidence through practicing a method and getting a positive response from a woman. That's called validation. And when that validation stops, like it will, and you go back to your old self and you start doubting yourself again, no progress has been made. So what I teach in my program, which goes over 6 months minimum, is to teach these guys to connect to themselves, connect to a place where they feel happy, they feel worthy. That's the foundation of being able to go out there. But then what one of you guys are probably going to say to me now is, yeah, but when they do that, that's when they're ready to start learning the method. I would say a happy, confident guy at his core, who believes in himself, can meet women and find a girlfriend and find a great wife from a place of abundance without having to learn pickup artistry. Because you see these guys, these what we call the naturals, and they will blow the socks off most of the pickup artists. You see these guys in the club, they've never heard one line to say. They've never figured out the seduction techniques, the tactics. There's something that's happening internally that permits them to take action, and they're constantly taking girls home. They're the center of attention. Women are lusting over them. What is that? That's true confidence. That's a strong relationship with the internal self, and probably they were brought up right by their parents. So it does run that deep, and that's what I'm trying to say. You cannot put a band-aid around this stuff with learning pickup artistry if you're broken internally. And a lot of guys who struggle with women, if they had their internal work together and they just went out and say, hey, I thought you were beautiful, they'd meet so many women. I see guys on these podcasts saying, gone are the days that you can go up to a woman and just say, hey, you're beautiful, I wanted to meet you. I don't know where they're getting this stuff from. It's crazy. Like men and women have met long before the pickup artist scene came along. And it's very straightforward, it's very simple. I'm not saying there isn't an element of technique and learning the right thing to say and what you shouldn't say. But there are lots of naturals out there that are just naturally confident and they've got hundreds of options with women wherever they go.
A lot of these
All
natural
right, so
although are big losers in life. They have no job. Uh, I'm just saying. So you're right. It doesn't depend on externals. I'm shutting up and letting Erik answer.
yeah, so Erik Carlberg, dating coach for men.com. Some of you know me as Ablaze, Mysteries Wingman, and I am the creator of the Vortex of Love, which is what I call a customizable superstructure. It is, in my opinion, and this is taking myself out of the equation. Obviously, I'm a little biased here, but I believe that I have completed something special here. I wrote a book, a 650-page book, and this is the most complete system that I have seen, even more complete than the M3 model by Mystery, my friend, my business partner, my wingman. I get into new mate selection theories. I have different elements to teach guys. I break the game down into 4 key elements that can be rearranged into different steps. It's not a linear process. I break down tactics and techniques into 3 key dimensions. Once you understand the building blocks of the vortex, you can literally create dozens, if not hundreds, of systems. And you can even use it for quote unquote natural game if you want to. So, to the student who wants to get super nerdy with this and he wants to get into the nitty gritty and he wants to get technical, this is the perfect vehicle for a brain like his. For the guys that are more like Dean, who felt bogged down by the concepts and the tactics and like it was stifling him, you can learn the vortex and then use it more heuristically and spontaneously. I'll get into the vortex a little bit more later, but I do want to address a few points that you made, Dean. So when I got into this scene as well, I was very young. I was 22. I was basically just flying blind. If somebody had a website, I was like, they must know what they're talking about, right? So I tried everything under the sun without question. And I think that inability to self-reflect and look at what I was using without much like overthinking actually kind of served me because it kept me in a state of action. But eventually my results started to peter out, right? Some of the things that I would do would work spectacularly and sometimes it would fail miserably. And I started to realize there were limitations to what I was learning as well. And what happened was I realized there was no method that was quite exactly like what I was doing because I actually have a little bit of a natural background as well. I had results with women. I had girlfriends and stuff when I was younger. Nonetheless, I still got sucked into learning the technicalities of the game. That's what inspired me to create the Vortex. I wanted to bring together many different elements of the game. I wanted to bring together direct game, indirect game, natural game, mindset, outer game, inner game, systems versus freestyling. The Vortex really has all all ends of the spectrum covered in that regard. So I also found a lot of this stuff to be effective sometimes, but not all the time. If you don't mind, I'm going to rifle through a few more points because I jotted a few notes as you went along because you hit on several things. Mushin, the idea of no mind that the samurais used to use, they would use that after vigorous training. They would train techniques and systems into their muscle memory. And then when they would get into a fight with somebody, they would enter a state of no mind. It doesn't mean that they went in with no training and no skills and no strategy and just went in there blank-minded and started sword fighting with people. So that's something that I don't agree with. The idea that a guy can go out there without learning any technology or any strategies. If a guy is already a natural communicator, if he has good speaking abilities and he gets in a good state of mind, that's going to unleash his natural speaking ability, whatever he already has programmed into him, right? So if I'm about to jump in the octagon with Conor McGregor, by all means, get me in a good state of mind because you don't have time to train me. But if I have 6 months to prepare into the octagon with Conor, I want to learn techniques and systems and strategies, and I want to condition myself. And of course, I want some of that inner game stuff that you're talking about as well, Dean. But the idea that these systems and strategies are ineffective or too logical is a little bit fallacious, or very fallacious, should I say. Um, I have more points to keep running on, but I feel like you want a rebuttal right now, so I'll pause on my other points.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a technical skill. You're talking about learning the guitar. You're talking about the skill of martial arts, which you do have to practice. But mating is in your genes. The fact that you're sat here right now means your ancestors figured this stuff out. So if you get someone who's in the right state, who's in a state of courage to go out there and put themselves out there and go for the women that they want and learn how to build their confidence and hold a conversation, even without a system, their brain is going to calibrate. When you're walking, you're not thinking about where you're putting your heel, and you're not logically thinking when you're walking or when you're picking up your mobile phone, you need to grip it with this amount of strength. So when you're giving people this level of technology, this much complication, you're putting them so much in their head, they're second guessing what they're doing. Their natural expression is coming out, and it's your natural expression. Humans learn to mate without any systems, without any pickup techniques,
it's not,
Let me jump in here.
it's not natural though. Let me just say this really quick. It's a quick point. We know that human behavior is not natural and it's not inborn because we can look at cases of extreme abuse. There are people that were deprived of natural, normal human contact. The most extreme case being like somebody was literally kept living in a chicken coop with chickens when he was young. And no matter how much therapy he gets and how much training he gets, there's certain things that he wasn't taught super young that they can't get rid of those behaviors. Like humans are very reliant on other humans to teach them skills, including communication skills. The idea that the ability to talk to women and mate is just in our genes is not true.
It is though, because you're
also, if I could, look at children. Children are as natural as you can get, but they don't have social skills. Children have to be taught not to fight, not to pull hair, to share. Those social skills have to be, let me finish, because I can see you're formulating an answer. Children, of course, we have natural instincts. I get it. And the more complex social skills like share with your sister, use your words, don't punch someone out, use your words. Social skills and emotional intelligence, they have to be taught. Just look at children. Children who are not taught those things wind up being criminals. So I just want to add that point. And as far as logic, I think we're using a term that's not clearly defined. An NLP, and you can be skeptical about NLP, but there's a concept that says, first, we're unconsciously incompetent. Then we're consciously incompetent. We know that we're doing something incorrectly. Then we're consciously competent. We learn the skill. And then it becomes unconsciously competent. We no longer have to think about it. So you can take a skill set that someone doesn't have, train them properly, and it becomes, quote, second nature, close quote. And they're no longer thinking about it. They just show up with it. And I'm here to tell you that the way that we interact in the modern age is not necessarily the way we did things 10,000 years ago, because now we have language, we have culture, we have social norms, and it's just not necessarily the same thing. It just isn't.
Indeed. Indeed. No, I 100% agree with you, Ross. And just moving along to a few other points, if I may, Dean, we are a rational animal. That's what separates us from animals. I do believe there are some guys that are too caught up in their logical mind, and they would benefit from thinking a little bit less about this, being a little more spontaneous, trusting their intuition. It sounds like that's what you really need. And for you, that was a huge breakthrough moment where you're like, I just need to get out of my head, get all this pickup theory out, and boom, your results took off, okay? But that was you. There are some guys that need more technical, systematic training, right? You said this is an art and it's not a science. I would argue that it's an art and a science, and it depends on the student. For some students, they are very art-minded. They don't care about the systems, the science. They just want to sort of winch out this creative energy and roll with it. I'm very much a fan of that as well. I consider myself to be very artistic. Some guys need the technicalities, the science, the structure. The Vortex of Love, my soon-to-be released book, my new method, it is designed to make logical guys think a little more creatively, and guys that are a little more creative and woo-woo, it's designed to kind of ground them a little bit more. It's going to balance out wherever a guy is on that spectrum. It plays to a guy's strengths. It's not, this is the way I do it, therefore you should. It truly puts the user in control. I
I don't
can't
think
wait.
I don't think it's about a matter of being logical or not logical. It's about a matter of whether you have internal dialogue going chatter, 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 and taking up space, cognitive real estate. So what I teach my students is rather than relying on what your internal dialogue is telling you, rather than letting your internal dialogue be the architect and the engineer and the designer of your life, let your bold experiments and your vision and your values be the things that determine, that become the architects, the engineers, and the designers of your life. So rather than thinking about logical or illogical, my way of viewing it is, are you in a lot of internal dialogue going ratcheta, 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 or is your internal dialogue quiet enough where you can do the things that you've taught yourself to do and the things that come naturally that attract women? It's about quieting down that internal dialogue, not about whether it's logical or illogical.
I agree with you, Ross, but once again, I would say it depends on the student, right? Like some students are naturally cluttered in their mind and they actually like being that way and there's no getting rid of it. And that's the way they
There
want
is
to,
getting rid of
right?
it. That's the limit of your technology.
No,
My
there are some.
technology, your technology can't get rid of it. My
I agree.
technology
No,
can get rid of it.
there's some guys don't even want to get rid of it, right? So like
Well, that's their mistake.
I have a very naturally cluttered brain sometimes, right? Sometimes I meditate, I clear that shit out, I get in the present moment. Sometimes I trust the swirling thoughts in my head and I think and I strategize and I talk to myself. I don't think it's one way or the other. Like you must get out of your head. I agree that when you have less cognitive real estate being taken up, now your senses can open up more. You're more connected to the moment. There's certainly something attractive about a man that is grounded and centered. But once again, you don't have to be completely mentally clear
I
to
didn't say
attract women.
completely. You're throwing a straw man at me.
Fair. But you did say that you should dial that down as much as possible, right?
Because how do you socially look? Dean would agree, you would agree, I would agree, ICE would agree that calibrating socially and having the emotional intelligence to see where the other person is at is important. There's only so much real estate in consciousness. If it's taken up by a lot of internal dialogue going ratcheta, 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 you don't have enough of that to pay attention to what's in front of you.
There's a time to calibrate, there's a time to calibrate to other people, and there's a time to get people to calibrate to you. There are times where I am blurring out my surroundings and I'm focusing on whatever's in my head and I'm telling my story and I'm running my material. So calibration is a part of it, but it's not 100% of it.
That's the problem. You're running material.
It's if
rather
I'm
than
running material
structured
or being
content.
spontaneous, I can do both. I can be spontaneous, I can run material. That's another beauty of my method is it's not just material is the way or spontaneity is the way. I like both. I can use material, I can shoot off hours of material if I need to, but I can also freestyle and be in the moment.
Dean, let's hear from you because I've been jabbering more than I planned to.
You don't calibrate logically by writing it down on a paper and reflecting on what you did wrong. Your emotional brain calibrates, you remember. So, and the reason I know this is because I take guys out, and I don't get me wrong. The way that you framed what I just said is you can be a complete meathead who's clueless and just go out and attract women. There is a 10% technique. You know, I tell these guys roughly what to say, but really, what's creating that transformation, really, what's making these guys connect with women is the fact that when I'm coaching these guys, I'm being very charming, being very playful. I'm putting themselves in a mood that permits them to be more carefree and be more playful. Unless you've been shut away your entire life for 20 or 30 years, you've picked up some social skills naturally. You kind of know how to hold a conversation. You kind of know how to talk to people, including girls. So yesterday I was coaching. I didn't tell a guy anything to say whatsoever, but he's struggling with approach anxiety. He gets mental blockages. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know how to, he thinks he doesn't know how to flirt. I changed this guy's state. And within the space of 2 hours, he's sat down on instant dates with girls. He's holding hands. He's getting connections. He's getting phone numbers. Girls are wanting to see him again. So what I'm trying to say is when you put yourself in the right state, your best expression, your biggest charisma, that comes out naturally. It's in there somewhere. So, you know, like
Not
It's not like
necessarily. Not necessarily. That's like saying I can put someone in a good state of mind and then now they can run a business, right? If I'm going to hire a business coach, do I want somebody who just gives me the mindset of an entrepreneur? No, I want to teach someone to teach me to set up a fucking accounting system and how to bring a product to market and how to sell my product and all sorts of stuff. It's much more than just state. If
flirting
state
with a
is
woman is not a
State,
mathematical
state,
calculation.
state,
It's a
state is a big part of it for some guys. Once again, for you, it's 90% state, 10% material. For some students, it's the opposite. They need 90% material and structure, and then the state comes later.
okay. Let's change the word of state. Let's call it natural expression. Let's call it the authentic self. Let's call it connection to joy, which every human being is entitled to. And the reason that they can't feel that joy and that social freedom is because the mental clutter and the experiences that you've had. So when you use those references like people who got psychologically damaged, the reason that they can't feel themselves, the reason they can't connect to that state of joy is there's so much trauma, they've lost touch with it. What I'm trying to tell you is your ability to feel the inspiration to go and connect with someone and compliment someone and tell a girl that she's absolutely gorgeous and you want to sit her down, very basic stuff. That flirtation is not, it's not a sight. It's not like, right, what I need to do when I'm talking to a girl is now I need to make a bit more eye contact and lean back and start speaking slower and whisper to her and change my voice tonality. If you're thinking like that, you've lost connection completely. You're not even present. You're in your logical thinking head. You're in your left brain. So it's an expression. And the problem that these guys face is most guys who struggle with women, they're in their head, they're stifled, they've got extreme spotlight effect, they care about what people think. So when I take these guys out and I get them into this zone where they're enjoying the music, they're being playful, I'm leading from the front, suddenly they've got the hottest girls in the club smiling at them and wanting to talk to them. I haven't told them anything to say. I haven't taught them any logical pickup system. And I'm not saying that some of that stuff doesn't need to be relayed. It does. They need to roughly know where they're going. There is a human mating dance.
And
But
what's their second?
What I'm saying is you overcomplicate this stuff.
And what's their second biggest sticking point? You said their first biggest sticking point is they're nervous, they're in their head, they're stifled. I agree. Approach anxiety, fear, overthinking. That is by far the number one issue that guys come to me with. What would you say is number two?
I would say number two is not feeling worthy enough to be extremely forthcoming and flirtatious and direct with women.
Don't you think that's still correlated to the first one, in my opinion? The second biggest one that I've found that guys come to me with is I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. That is structure. That is what Ross teaches, language patterns, techniques, verbal techniques, nonverbal communication. So it's not just about unstifling, guys. Look, that is an important component of it. That falls under the umbrella of what I call element 4, which is the emotional bond that we want to build with a woman and our relationship with our own emotions. Being in a positive state of mind, in a state of joy, and trying to get that to transfer over to the woman through the tendency for humans to sense one another's emotions, right? This energy game that you're trying to do here, it's one technique. That's all it is. It's
human expression. It's human expression.
It's a technique. I'm getting myself into a state of joy, into a positive state of mind, and then I'm trying to get the student into a positive state of mind. And when he does that, he will speak more spontaneously and he'll get better responses from when you're teaching one technique. And there's a bunch of nuance to that technique.
Why speak spontaneously when you know how to speak in a way that structures consciousness, shapes emotions, and drives behavior? I can do it. My senior students can do it. And within 15 to 20 minutes, the woman is not only feeling connected, she's feeling attracted, she's feeling aroused, and she's feeling ready to go. So I don't even know. Let me just back up here a minute. We're using terms that are ill-defined. For example, authentic self. That assumes there's just only one self in there, when in fact, the self is a committee with all sorts of different aspects and elements to it. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Number two, authenticity, I think, is overrated. And here's what I mean. Let me give you some social examples. When I was a little kid, my great aunt Golda knitted me a sweater. I didn't want for Hanukkah. I'm Jewish. I didn't want a fucking sweater. I wanted a Hot Wheel, Mattel toy. She gave it to me, and my mother said, thank you. Say thank you. I said, I don't want to say thank you. This sucks. and I got the shit smacked out of me. I was authentic, but it didn't work. If a cop pulls you over and says, "Why were you going so fast? Get out of the car," and he starts verbally abusing you, are you going to be authentically saying, "Fuck you, pig"? No, you're going to take on a submissive role. So the name of the game is not about being authentic. The name of the game is being what we call in NLP requisite variety, have the ability to have flexibility and have multiple responses. And second, this idea of charisma, that's another ill-defined term. My niece, Vanessa Van Edwards, who I'm very proud of, two-time best-selling New York Times author, entrepreneur, defines charisma as competence and warmth. You have to send out signals of warmth, and then you have to send out signals of competence. So charisma, I think, is ill-defined. One of the problems of this whole discussion is we're using terms that are ill-defined. So let's define our terms as clearly and as succinctly as we can, because if your terms are ill-defined, it's hard to have an intelligent discussion.
So every guy who's watching this, every guy who's watching this podcast right now can remember a time, even before they learned pickup or during that they learned pickup, before they had as much knowledge in this stuff, can remember a time where they felt great. They felt high on life. They felt like they were having a good time. They were at their favorite music show. They were dancing. They just had some good news. They were in a playful state. What they noticed as a consequence of that is more people wanted to meet them. They got more indicators of interest. More women were warmed to them. They had access to their social skills much quicker. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're not in that positive state, no matter how much you've learned about these systems that you're talking about, they won't remember those. They're so stifled and they're so nervous, they won't be able to deliver that. And even if they try, it will come across like it's totally unworthy and the women will walk away.
So
and I can guarantee it, unless you learn how to get guys in that playful state, in that carefree state, they are going to get continuously blown out and blown out and blown out.
We haven't named
35 years. I've been teaching it for 35 years. I'll lay on the table that my system of doing that is
we have a name for that. We have a name for that. It's called inner and outer game symmetry, right? If a guy's skill is really good, but he doesn't believe in who he is and he thinks he's a loser, you know, he's not going to even be able to enjoy like, imagine you have a job and you're really good at your job, right? But you hate your job and you think you're unworthy and you think you suck. You're never going to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? But if you think you're amazing at your job and you actually don't have the technical skills to back it up, you know, your confidence in yourself is only going to take you so far as well. So I am a big believer in inner and outer game symmetry. And once again, it depends on the guys. Some guys need to work intensely on their inner game. I help guys get more rational. I help them think more clearly and strategically about the game, or I help them think less about the game. But I make it very clear to my students that my coaching is not a substitute for therapy. I do not offer guys therapy. I do not claim that I can heal people's trauma, okay? I will help them learn the dating game, and I will do that in conjunction with perhaps a qualified NLP practitioner like Ross, or I will do that with the help of a clinical therapist. But to say that you help guys heal trauma, you have to be careful with saying that, depending on your location and where you're making these claims. I don't make any claims of therapy and fixing guys in that regard.
Well, if you teach them the dating game without teaching them how to connect to a sense of joy and be happier people and more confident people, you're delaying the fact that they feel the fact that they need to work on their trauma.
If I think a guy needs to connect more to his joy, if I think a guy needs to connect more to his joy, I definitely will go down that path with him. But I don't do it from a clinical standpoint. I have inner game teachings. I do all sorts of inner game stuff. But, you know, the hard part of this is, can you teach a guy a system with techniques and tactics that's logical, that's rational, that's customizable, that's adaptable, that has rearrangeable steps, instead of just build attraction, build comfort, seduce, which is my sensei's model, right? The M3 model, mystery method. The Vortex of Love actually has interchangeable steps. You can take the 4 elements and you can arrange them in different ways to create different systems. And when you incorporate different techniques and tactics, according to 3 key dimensions that I've broken these down into, you can create almost limitless systems. Or again, you can learn this stuff, throw it away, use it more heuristically, let it run as like a background program, This is the Vortex of Love. I'm for real when I say this. This is the most advanced system that currently exists. It is, and that's going to be proven. That book is going to be dropped in the next month or so. I'm having a really hard time getting my formatting and cover design, but it is on the verge of being available. When I set out to write this book, I said I want this to be a game changer. There's certain books that come along in the community, The Mystery Method, Speed Seduction, How to Get the Women You Desire into Bed, uh, Rational Male by Rollo Tomasi. There's all sorts of The Game by Neil Strauss. When I wrote The Vortex of Love, I wanted this book to be a keystone book in the community. I tried to write the Stairway to Heaven of dating books, and I believe I've done that.
Okay. So what percentage is it that of human communication is verbal? You're talking about systems.
myth.
Yes. So,
The
so
myth.
here,
This
yeah.
is a myth. Excuse me, I need to jump in here. Here's how I know it's a myth. This study comes from Dr. Albert Mehrabian, who is a professor at UCLA. Guess who his grad student was who worked on the study and compiled the data? My sister Marion. And
Okay.
Mehrabian later came out and retracted that
Oh.
study. So I'm telling you, that's a massive, that study has been retracted. I know the name of the professor. I happen to know because my sister Marion was his grad assistant. So that's just isn't true. I know what you're about to say. I stepped on you. Go ahead and say it. It's
It
not.
depends. Here's what I'm going to say. It depends on the person. Okay. Everybody goes by that 80%. Most communication is 80% nonverbal. It's emotional, whatever. It's 20% verbal. I think it depends on the person. Some people are very logical and linear, and they're not really letting people's emotions affect them. They're thinking about the content of what's being said. Some people, you can say literally anything to them, and they're just picking up the energy, the vibe of everything. It depends on the woman, which leads me to another point that I'd like to address as well. You said this game is all emotional and it's not logical. Okay. Uh, I know that you were talking from the man's standpoint, right? If he's too logical and he's too in his head, then he won't be attached to his emotions and he won't be effectively communicating. But I would argue that women are also logical when it comes to the dating game. And this flies in the face of a lot of the mainstream advice out there. The emotional component is massively important too. But when you're interacting with a woman, it's whether it's for short-term hookup, long-term relationship, there's some variance there. But the
Mhm.
woman, generally speaking, is very capable of putting her emotions aside and saying, okay, this guy is making me feel a certain type of way, but is he going to get along with my friends? What place is he going to have in my life? What does he have going for him? Women do think
Mhm.
logically about this stuff.
Yeah, they do. I mean, that's a different subject. Like attraction is not logical. A woman's not deciding whether she finds you attractive. That's a trigger
Fair,
inside
fair.
based on how you're behaving.
Listen, you
A
guys are
woman
both off the
deciding to be in
mark.
a relationship with you, she's going to measure up the the metrics, the
You guys are
demographics.
both off
What
the
type of
mark.
person are you?
It's not about logical or emotional. It's about suggestible. To what degree are they suggestible? To what degree are they open to suggestion? And that means to what degree can their subconscious or unconscious mind, I use them interchangeably because I'm a hypnotist, to what degree are they suggestible?
Sounds
So,
like indirect game, Ross.
no. I use language and I can also express my intent at the same time. To what degree are they suggestible, and to what degree do you have the skills to use that suggestibility to structure emotions? So to me, I'm just saying it's not about emotion or logic. It's about suggestibility, which is a totally different thing.
Suggestibility is a technique, is a tactic, right? You're using language patterns, you're using nonverbal communication to
Yes and no.
infiltrate a woman.
Suggestibility, that's the technique to get there, but
Mhm.
suggestibility is something that's part of every human being. Let me give you an example. There's something called the willing suspension of disbelief. When you were a little kid and your parents read you a story, once upon a time there was a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit and a dragon, you became suggestible. You made those ideas real in your mind. You imagined it and believed it was real. Children have imaginary companions. Suggestibility is also why you can see a movie. You can see a movie because you literally imagine away the theater. You forget about the screen. You don't. That's why we don't want babies in the theater or people talking next to us. All these are phenomena, they're all dependent on suggestibility. So it's not about emotion or logic, it's about suggestibility, which straddles the two. So my whole system is designed to say, how quickly can we create, evoke, or utilize those states of suggestibility? And from there, create the emotional states, because women see us through the feelings they have for us. So let's create those feelings before we go for the behaviors, because in the right states of emotion, they will naturally give us those behaviors that we're seeking from them.
And Ross, I'm not going to debate you on these techniques because this is your wheelhouse, right? Like, you know more about these suggestibility tactics and techniques and NLP than I do, right? I am not denying that these are powerful techniques, but they are techniques. You know, how do they fit within a larger structure, within a larger system, which is what the Vortex provides. It provides a structure.
Larger doesn't necessarily mean better. And Vortex, by the way, is something that's very confusing. It's a swirl of different elements with no clear pattern to it. So you picked
the
a bad
Vortex.
name.
Yes. No, I picked a great name. Okay. The Vortex, the swirl is crucial to understanding the Vortex. We've all experienced, or many of us have experienced, I should say, that sensation of being with a woman, and there's some sort of gravity that generates between you and her, right? There's some sort of energy that forms, and you can feel yourself sort of spiraling towards her, right? So the Vortex, the shape of the Vortex, is designed to remind us that there are forces of nature beyond our control at times that take hold of us, right? And at the very top of the Vortex, the forces of attraction are kind of weak. If we say something wrong, if we do something wrong, we can easily be flung out of the Vortex, right? The further down the funnel we go,
sounds like bad science fiction.
the further down the funnel we go, the more momentum starts to work on our behalf, and eventually we cross what I call the momentum threshold. That's where there's a polarity shift, right?
You're
And it
using
actually
terms
feels,
like force. You're using terms from science like force and momentum.
absolutely.
You're using scientific terms.
Wait till I talk to you about
knowledge.
Wait till I talk to you about
behind it. It's hijacking the terms of science to make nonsense seem like it has scientific back.
Well, listen to this one. If you think I'm hijacking those terms, wait till you hear this one, right?
Sure.
There are four key elements.
Hit me with your marketing, dude.
There are four key elements, okay, that we want to try to build. And what we want to do is we want to bring those to what I call equilibrium. I stole this term from star formation. So equilibrium is when a star's tendency to collapse on itself is superseded by the energy being released as hydrogen and helium fuse together, okay? Hydrogen and helium fuse together, it gives off energy, and at the same time the star is trying to collapse. When it hits equilibrium, it's in a state of balance.
Eric,
Four key elements to getting a woman to fall in love with you.
Eric, if you're going to
go ahead,
in terms
Ross.
of science, then you have to come up with math. There's no valid scientific concept that doesn't have math behind it. So what is your mathematics behind you?
This is a concept.
You cannot speak in terms of science and claim scientific labels unless
Certainly I can take a term.
Unless you're able and willing to submit to the rigors of science.
You don't want to hear me talk about my
marketing. It's
yeah. Of course. I needed some catchy terms that are going to stick in guys' head. The Vortex of Love. It's got a ring to it. But no,
may the force be with you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so Ross, you're about to go down this rabbit hole of interrupting me every time. Is that what you're going to do?
No, I'm not. No,
that's what it sounds like.
Me. My purpose here is to clarify when someone is speaking, hijacking the technology and the terminology.
I say that right in my book. But wait a second. I say that right in my book. I say I borrowed this term from science, from star formation. It's called equilibrium. And so when I'm giving credit where credit's due, when I give credit where credit's due, how am I hijacking a term?
Because you're using a term, you're taking on the trappings and the patina of science to make your argument seem to be more valid.
No, I'm not. I'm doing it to clarify an idea. I'm using a scientific term to help make an idea more efficiently uploaded into a guy's head.
I don't think it's well done.
People
Dean,
use analogies and metaphors and comparisons all the time. What are you talking
Dean,
about?
your turn.
My head hurts.
Is it his turn? Is it his turn? Did I get to finish my thought? That's okay. I knew this debate was probably going to go sideways at some point. There are two types of debates. We started off good. The first type of debate is where there's a genuine desire to hear the other person's point of view and you make like valid arguments, right? And then there is the hijacking, interrupting, mischaracterizing other people's arguments and
I
just
don't want
trying to
you.
look smart and trying to look like you're
I'm
winning.
not trying to look smart, sir. I'm trying to protect the audience from being misled.
Oh yeah, the big
It's time
protector over here. Protect us, Ross, from Erik and
I'm, oh,
his
now,
his
thank you for your
hypnosis.
sarcasm. Your hate makes me stronger. Dean, go ahead.
Let the
Yeah,
hate
I'm
flow through
interested
you,
in
Ross.
the
That's it.
funnel. Like could you tell me more about the funnel? Like what's at the bottom of the funnel?
The point of no return. The point of no return is at the very bottom of the vortex when you are basically going to fall in love with somebody and they're going to fall in love with you, and there's no way to escape, right? You have fallen in love at the very bottom of the vortex. So
Okay.
again, when you meet somebody, the reason my model is not a step-by-step system. It's not do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You can take the 4 elements and arrange them into different linear steps if you want to. But it's much more powerful to imagine that these 4 elements exist simultaneously and you are building each one of them up to equilibrium. Once they're all built up to equilibrium, you spiral all the way down the funnel and fall in love. She falls in love with you, you fall in love with her. That's the goal, is for you guys to go into the vortex together and spiral into love. That is a very quick snapshot. There's much more that goes into it. But I'm trying to definitely get guys to think through the frame of creating gravitational energy between the woman and you, right? Creating
How do
this
you do
sense of
that?
magnetism.
How do you create the gravitational energy?
So there's many different ways to do that. One such way of doing that is what you're talking about. For some guys, getting out of their head and just being present in the moment, that is a tactic and technique that can be used. Getting to know her, basically what you want to do is you want to build these 4 elements up: attraction, a psychological bond, a physical bond. And element 3, by the way, also has to do with spatial awareness and how she feels within proximity of you. And the 4th element is an emotional bond. If you build all 4 of these key elements up using a variety of tactics and techniques or natural game, you spiral all the way down and fall in love. The vortex doesn't just take you from meat to sex, it takes you from meat to falling in love. You can use it just for pickup if you want to, but really it's designed to take you from meeting a woman to beginning a loving relationship. The subtitle of my book is How to Get a Woman to Fall in Love with You.
Okay. I got another question, like taking a step back about what we were previously talking about. When you have a night where you're totally on form and you feel like every single woman that you approach is interested in you, or many of those women are interested in you, and then you have a bum night, you have a night where you just feel invisible, you're in your head, like no women are responding well to you. What's the difference there? Because your knowledge, your logical knowledge of game is exactly the same on your good nights and your bad nights. So what's the missing ingredient that determines your good night? Because we all get good nights and bad nights.
It depends.
So what is that?
There is not one thing. There could be a variety of different things.
Such as?
So I could have an amazing night one night and the next day I'm just not in the right state of mind, right? Like that's a thing. State of mind definitely can affect your results. I'm burnt out.
Okay.
I'm tired. I go out, it's a shit venue. I'm getting bad responses, right? I don't have the best wingmen with me. I'm not as focused on game. I'm talking to a girl that I had met the night before. There's a variety of reasons of why you can go out and have a good night one night and the next night it's not good. It can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, in my opinion, if you get good enough at this game and you stick with it enough, you can get to a point of consistency where those lows are not as low. You don't celebrate the wins quite as much, and you don't get down on yourself for the lows as much. You sort of have a little bit more of an even keel style of game.
Okay, but if there's a logical system, and the pickup artists pose being good with women like there's a reliable, structured system that you can follow to make sure that you're perfect, and you know how to get the girl every single time.
I never made
So
that
if that's
claim.
the case, Mystery said that.
No, I've never made
How do
that
you know when
claim.
you're good when you get the girl? So if that's the case, how are you still having bad nights if you perfected this 80, 90, 100% conversion rate? What's the missing link?
There, dude,
And you said
I
it's
was,
your state of
I
mind.
was actually
So if
looking
it's your
forward.
state of mind, then that backs up what I'm just saying.
I was
How
actually
you
looking forward to disagreeing with you on that because I thought you were the one that was claiming 80 to 90% conversion rate. I have never made an 80 to 90% conversion rate claim. Now, if I'm in a really good state of mind and I have a lot of momentum and my game is on point and I'm cherry picking my approaches, have I gone like 7 or 8 for 10 before? You know what I mean? Like it's doable, but 80 to 90% conversion rate over a sustained period of time is just not real. That
Yeah,
does.
but what determines your game being on point?
What determines I basically judge myself by how
Then it should
well
be right.
did I do my best in the moment. If I did the best that I could in every moment and I feel like whether I went natural game, structured game, whether I was using inner game, outer game tactics, whether I was using a system, whatever, if I look at a woman and I do my best to get her, right? I do my best to attract her or discover if we have some compatibility and I use my game to the best of my ability, to me, that's a win. Whether I get her or I don't, I count it as a win. And that's basically what I do. I use my own internal barometer of did I actually try to succeed?
Yeah, but obviously what you're saying is there is a system, and a large majority of this doing well with women is a system. So 2 times 2 equals 4. If you know systematically and logically and structurally exactly how to emulate a great night and always attract women, then how are you still having bad nights? How are you still having nights where you
That's
don't?
not how it works. It's not a perfect system. I do have what I believe to be the most complete system to date. Okay. I've been in this game for 20 years. I've been coaching for over 16 years. I've studied masters such as Ross Jeffries. Mystery is my wingman, business partner, good friend. I've studied all different styles of game. I graduated the top student at my college out of 900 students at my business school. I say that not to impress you, but to impress upon you that I have the intellectual rigor to create something powerful. And yes, I'm a little biased because it's my system, but when I take me out of the equation and I look at what I created with the Vortex, it is a fucking badass system. I introduce new mate selection theories. I know that you're not really big on the whole like social market value thing. Guys are stressing out too much about looks, money, status. I agree with you. I
Yeah,
introduced new mate selection theories that the community never talks about, right? My system is not a linear step-by-step system. It's a rearrangeable, adaptable, customizable system. I break tactics and techniques down into 3 key dimensions: directness level, intensity level, and positivity level. When you combine these in different ways, you get 8 different octants, it's called in the math world, right? Or 8 cubes. Once you understand the way that these elements can be arranged in different ways, you understand these 8 cubes and the different mate selection theories, you can truly create customizable systems, dozens and dozens of customizable systems for each and every student according to his wants, his desires, his strengths, his weaknesses. If he wants to play to his weaknesses, his strengths, it is completely flexible. And you can even turn down the opacity of it. If you want to use more natural game, just take a dimmer switch and turn the brightness level down and allow these concepts to more naturally infiltrate your game. The Vortex of Love is what everybody in the community needs to read next. It is a game
but
changer. It's a game
you
changer.
can't be thinking about that stuff when you're in the field
You should
because
not. Well, I shouldn't say you
there's such a
should
razor's
not.
edge of like
Correct.
if you're not in
Ideally,
that present moment, you're not having a great time, and you're thinking
agreed. No,
about which
listen.
system to use. It's like
Ideally, you train this stuff, and then in the moment, you're not thinking about it. Dean, you're a boxer. I've seen you hitting punching bags. Do you train your techniques?
yeah,
You train your
yeah,
jab, cross, hook, your combos, and then when you get in the ring, ideally, you try not to overthink. You try to react, right?
mhm,
It's the
yeah.
same thing with this, right? Like, I don't want guys in the field thinking, oh, what step am I in now? Like, sometimes you're going to have these thoughts that rip through you in the moment, right? But ideally, you train this stuff, you understand it, you go out, write a little field report, you reflect, you go back out again, right? And eventually, this stuff becomes ingrained in you. Uh, and it's up to each guy how much he wants to ingrain it and how much he just wants to sort of keep it at a distance. But I'm not telling guys that they should just go out and be in their head 24/7 the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like clearly you're an intelligent guy and you thought about this stuff, but I honestly believe you do better if you learn energy game and you dropped a lot of this logical stuff.
Honestly, Dean, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't think energy game is that unique. I was teaching similar stuff 15 years ago. Like what you're teaching, like I actually have a little post screenshotted from you. Can I read this post? You wrote this a few months ago.
Of course.
Okay.
Unless it was a troll post, yeah, of course.
No, it's not a bad post. So here, what is energy game? It's connection to peak state and a very grounded internal emotional feeling combined with connection to libido and horniness. When this is expressed outward to a woman, it's like a vacuum and she becomes influenced by your energy and feels calm and horny herself through emotional contagion. Okay? Here's the thing.
Sounds great.
When you approach a woman and you're in a peak state and you're in a peak sexual state as well, if the woman is open and receptive to that, she can be pulled into your state. Okay, certainly. But sometimes you create a hot pot like effect where you blast her with too much energy and too much sexuality and she recoils from it. Okay. Ross actually popularized the boiling the frog analogy. So what I would say, Dean, is I've taught this method for sexualizing interactions as well. Rather than going up to a woman in a peak sexual state, why not teach your students to sort of turn their sexual energy up and down and control the sexual energy in the body? So I can be interacting with a woman and I want to sexualize things. Rather than ramping up my sexual energy, sometimes I just turn it up very mildly. So my words are talking about something else, but there's a little bit of sexual energy now oozing out of the interaction. So I don't think it's just get yourself in a peak state, be super horny, because emotions are not contagious all the time. If emotions were always contagious, then every woman we fall in love with would fall in love with us. If you ever had a super mad crush on a girl, how could that not be contagious? People can sense our emotions, but they don't always take those emotions in. The idea that we can just transfer sexual energy into her, nah. There's an art to it. It can be done. Suggestibility, as Ross was talking about, it depends. She may be open to it. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I see.
No, fine. I mean, you're talking about the expression and the action and the logical gaze of how much you're expressing your sexual libido. But if you're not connected to libido, like most guys are not, most guys are completely disassociated. They're totally in their head. Their trauma is being released every time they think about approaching a woman. There's absolutely no libido there. So if you can't feel your sexual arousal, your sexual desire, you can't flirt with a woman. It doesn't matter how much you tell her that she looks hot, you want to take her home, you think she'd be good in bed. If you say that shit logically and you're disconnected and you can't feel that libido inside you, you're going to look a weirdo, a creep. What is the definition of creepiness? A disalignment between the way that you're acting and the way that you're feeling. Correct. So for you to even be able to flirt, you have to be able to feel your libido. Now, how you respond to that?
I would argue that women call guys creepy when a guy demonstrates too much sexual attraction before getting to know her. That's when a girl comes back to her girlfriends and says that guy was creepy. Usually, what she means is I wasn't attracted to him and he was expressing too much sexual energy. That's typically
I think
he was not in his own reality. He was rapport seeking. He was trying to impress her. He didn't actually believe that she would respond to him. So that sexual libido was being expressed in a very incongruent way.
Correct.
And that's what
incongruent. 100%. It's about being incongruent. You have this sexual energy, and on the other hand, you're pretending it's not there, or you're trying to repress it. That's
or the other way around.
The other way around too. People pick up on. Hold on, please. People pick up. Just because I interrupted you constantly doesn't mean you should do the same to me. People pick up on being incongruent. I love that look on your face. People pick up on being incongruent. That's all I'm saying.
The worst one is learning pickup artistry and learning sub-communications and techniques how to flirt. When you're not even in a state where you want to go out and meet people. So you're doing it as an agenda. You're doing it because you're trying to work on your social skills. But inside, you feel apathetic, disconnected, sleepy, retired. If you're not horny and you're not switched on, you're not going to have a connection with a woman, because man to woman, what is the man to woman frame? People used to say that you've got to have a man to woman frame. You could do that as a technique, and you can start, yeah, how are you getting on? Make more eye contact. But if you aren't feeling switched on and connected, and like you're present, and like you've actually got value in the world, your sub communications are going to express complete unworthiness and strangeness. That's when she's going to go back to her friends and say, "This guy's a weirdo."
And
Like,
Dean,
what?
you said something
Certainly,
beautiful.
who is advocating for
Something beautiful.
incongruence?
Dean, you
So
said
you
something
can't be
beautiful.
congruent unless you're in state and feeling
Dean,
happy and feeling playful.
No,
You said
you don't
something
have to be in a
beautiful
peak
and
state all
unique
the
that I've
time.
never heard before. You used the word joy, the ability to be joyful and grounded at the same time. I'm not talking about being all over the place, but joy is contagious. Joy that's also grounded. Those two elements, being joyful and being grounded, are
Yeah.
extraordinarily, and hear me, subtly attractive. They're not obvious. They're not evident. The woman will never be able to say, you know, that guy was grounded and joyful. She'll go back to
Yeah.
her friends and say, I can't put my finger on what it was. And this
100%.
connection to joy, I've thought about it, but I've never expressed it publicly.
Dean, here's the deal, man. I think that this is a very powerful technique and tactic, right? This one of being connected with yourself, being connected to your libido, right? But it's just one piece of the game, right?
It's not a technique. It's how you should feel.
But
You're
it's not a
naturally
should.
in
It's not a
state.
should thing. Like if I'm gonna generalize, is it better for a guy to be connected to his libido and in state or disconnected? If it's an either or thing, sure, it's better for him to be connected. Obviously, right? I don't think you need to know anything about the game to know that being in a state of joy and connected to your libido and being present to the moment and not having thoughts cluttering your head and not being too logical, of course that's going to get you better results, right? But I'm talking about the full spectrum of the game. Like, look, some jujitsu practitioners, they get into a jujitsu match and they go straight for the person's neck. It's just all forward momentum straight for the neck. If you want to be a well-rounded jujitsu practitioner, you need to be able to play the guard. You need to be able to be on top. You need to be able to attack from multiple different angles. You need to be able to pull an opponent into you, push them away. There are many different aspects to a well-rounded jiu-jitsu fighter. I am a mixed Venusian artist, like a mixed martial artist. There's one for stealing terms, Ross. I know you're going to laugh at that one, right? But look, if you're a really, really talented traditional martial artist and you just know one way to defeat your opponent, you're certainly going to be powerful within your sphere. But a mixed martial artist, somebody who can take the fight to the ground, on the feet, and is more well-rounded, that's the ultimate. If we're going to argue which way of going about it is better, that's what the Vortex gives you. The Vortex gives you the ability to be direct, indirect, high intensity, low intensity, sexual, not sexual. You can mix it all together.
Let's hoist you on your own petard. Since you're talking about martial arts, Bruce Lee said something along the lines, I'm going to mangle the quote, I'd rather fight a man who's practiced 1,000 techniques once than who's practiced one technique 1,000 times. So Bruce Lee is all in favor of simplifying things, not having 8 different cubes. And, you know, do you understand? To me, you're taking something and you're vastly overcomplicating it.
It's not overcomplicated. It's not. It's quite simple, actually. It took a lot of complexity to get here.
A
But
700-page book is going to be
650 pages of
I stand corrected, sir. 650 pages.
250,000 words. It's about 2 or 3 books in one.
You're arguing my point. Anything like that is going to be complicated.
Anything that's 650 pages is going to be complicated. That's your argument?
From what you're expressing when you say things like 8 different cubes,
you guys haven't even let me explain it. All we've done is talk about energy game, which I'm fine.
Explain 8 cubes.
The 8 cubes. So I've broken down all of the tactics. Let's define, since you're big on definitions, right? A tactic is a move or series of moves designed to complete a strategic objective. Okay, so our strategic objectives for the Vortex are to build all 4 elements to equilibrium, as I said before. So an element 1 tactic is a move or series of moves designed to trigger attraction or uncover attraction between you and a woman, okay? A technique is the more exact expression of that tactic. And a series, several techniques strung together is what we would call a sequence, okay? We can break our different techniques down according to 3 different dimensions: directness level, intensity level, and positivity level. Stick with me for a minute, okay? Directness level exists on a 1 to 10 scale, okay? 0 to 10 or 0 to -10. If we're being direct in what we're doing, we're telling the woman she's attractive, we are to the positive side of the directness axis, okay? If we are trying to trigger attraction in the woman, but we are concealing our intentions, we are in the indirect side of the axis. That is the x-axis, the directness level axis. The y-axis is the intensity level axis. This means how much do I want her to consciously register and feel what I'm doing? So if I say to her, "You're really hot, you know that? I like you," and then I stack to a story or I change the subject, I'm really not trying to make her feel that, right? I'm more trying to, or maybe I'm using a hypnotic word of some sort laced into what I'm saying, okay? I'm trying to affect her on a subconscious level. That means I'm below 0 on the intensity level axis. If I want her to actually feel what I'm doing, I go, "You are fucking gorgeous." You know that? And I smile at her and I hold eye contact and I let that moment really settle in. I am on the positive end of the intensity level axis, okay? Directness level, intensity level. And then the last axis is, am I doing something to try to create a sensation of her gravitating toward me, positivity level, or am I using a push tactic? Do I want her to feel pushed away, right? So when you combine all of these different dimensions in different orders, you get 8 different categories of techniques that we can use. And once you understand these and you start labeling your tactics and techniques through these 3 dimensions, this is an overused term, but I'm going to use it anyway. It truly feels like a superpower. You are pushing and pulling, you are pushing and pulling energy. You are doing it in high intensity or low intensity ways, and you are either being obvious about it or you're being discreet about it. It is, you learn to calibrate all of your tactics and techniques according to these dimensions. And then you can attach them to the different elements.
I would just invite the audience to judge for themselves whether that was comprehensive or confusing.
Well, when I'm trying to explain it in 2 minutes.
Audience. I leave it to the audience.
Right.
I leave it to the audience to judge for themselves whether that was comprehensive or confusing or balance of both.
In 2 minutes. I explained it in 2 minutes. To teach the vortex of love is, I could teach all of the main concepts of the vortex in about 60 minutes. I could give you a high level snapshot of all of it in about 60 minutes. Ice has told me when my book is ready that he's willing to do an interview with me one-on-one. Ice is very good about not interrupting people, as you can see. So I'm looking forward to that one. But
I'm just here enjoying popcorn, as you can see.
Show the popcorn. I don't think he is eating popcorn.
Let me just give some context quickly, and then I don't want to interrupt the flow, so that's why I stay quiet during these debates a lot. But yeah, basically, months ago, I just decided, let me just go to the store in Peru and just buy like every different type of popcorn. And then for each debate, if it gets pretty crazy, I'll fucking put one in a microwave. It did not happen a few days ago for the A.G. Hayden versus Mr. Ricardo one, but we're having a good time today. Popcorn moments. Anyway, continue.
Taking questions from the audience.
Well, let me give you a concrete example, Ross, really quick, of how you could use the cubes, okay? Let's say I'm with my buddies and we're laughing and we're jeering and we're joking around and we're building a big hoopla. And I'm doing that intentionally to grab the attention of a woman across the room. I'm intentionally vibing with my buddies, but I'm sort of projecting all of this energy in her direction across the room, okay? And I'm trying to build attraction, element 1 with her, okay? I'm being indirect because I'm not being obvious in what I'm doing. I'm being high intensity because I'm building a hoopla, right? We're jeering, we're loud, we're slapping each other's back. So it's high intensity and it's positive. I'm trying to draw her to me with that tactic. That would be what's called a cube 2, element 1 tactic.
Sounds like a behavioral Sounds like a seduction periodic table of elements.
It's exactly what it is.
Well, have you ever been in chemistry? I challenge anyone who's ever taken a high school chemistry class, ask them, have they ever understood the periodic table of elements?
It's gonna take a little work. Listen, the key to the cubes is definitely the hardest part of the vortex, okay? It takes looking at lots of examples of the different cubes. It takes a lot of repetition, but once you get it and internalize it, it is super powerful. You can't be a dummy. You do have to think and use your brain a little bit. I'm doing my best to explain it within a very limited time frame, but trust, I've been teaching this to my students. It's powerful shit.
Alrighty, let me just come in here with super chat. It came in. Matt is chilling. Legendary super chat guy. This guy has given like 8 super chats right now, so we really appreciate that. Oh fuck! I just swallowed popcorn. Gonna die on the fucking live stream. How do you get the crowd hyped when the energy is low? Is the question from the super chat.
How do you get the
answer
crowd
while I
hyped?
resuscitate myself?
It depends if the crowd wants to get hyped or not. If the crowd is the energy is low, but everybody's just waiting for somebody to pop off so everybody can explode, then, you know, I don't know, get everybody riled up with something, I guess. But if the energy level of the crowd is low and they want to stay low, you can only influence that so much, in my opinion, right? You go to some of these Nordic countries and everybody's socializing, but it's very low key. It's very calibrated and dialed down. You go in there super high energy. It sometimes hits and it sometimes doesn't. That would be my answer to getting the crowd hyped when the energy is low. Dean, I don't know if you have a better response for that.
I don't think we're supposed to be low energy. I mean, I don't think we're supposed to be stifled and reserved and stiff upper lipped. So if you're in a place where the social custom is that you're just reserved and you're quiet and you're protecting your reputation, there's a level of suppression, namely places like, let's say, Russia or Lithuania. So no one wants to feel like that. That's not natural human expression. You look at a baby, when it wants to express itself, it screams like fucking cries and makes loads of noise. So it's social conditioning and it's societal customs that make you low energy and withdrawn. And it could be trauma, it could be caring about what people think. So if we're talking about like a bar or a restaurant or a club or a music show, how do you encapsulate the crowd? How do you inspire them? How do you get them in a positive state? Again, we go back to emotional contagion. You've got to be that light that shines, that encourages everyone else to move into that. So it starts with you dancing around, playing, being playful, permitting other people to move into that. That's part of coaching. Being a strong influence and helping people move into a more positive state. It's your responsibility as a coach to do that. So I don't quite understand the question, like what do they mean by the crowd? But if they're talking about being in a bar, you've got to be unleashed. You've got to be the one that permits other people to step out of their stifledness.
If he's a super chatter and he paid for his chat, I think you should give him the opportunity to reword his question, because I think the question was a little confusing. But if you need to get a crowd into a different state, I mean, the best way to do it is kind of like Dean said, you need to lead. You need to be in a powerful state yourself. You need to start creating a social domino-like effect with your energy.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. Like, it's one thing for you to have all this energy, but how about as a catalyst, inspiring other people to have similar kind of energy when there's not much going on, or other people are just being boring and you're that exciting guy? Can you inspire the others to have that similar kind of energy level?
Yeah. That's why we go to watch comedians and go to watch live bands, because they're in an ignited state that we want to be in. That's why we pay to feel like that. We pay to see that. The mirror neurons want to feel the same way that those people feel. So it starts with yourself. And if you can permit yourself to act like that, other people will do the same.
God forbid we should ever see another one like him, but Hitler did it with giant crowds of people using gestures and oratory, the words he used. So many different ways to go about it. But if you want to hold a crowd, use oratory, know how to move them with language.
There have been more than one, there's been more than one occasion where I was at a bar and the dance floor was completely empty and there was a band playing, there was music playing, and everybody was sort of brimming with this unreleased social energy. And either solo or with a buddy, I have gone onto the dance floor and like Anthony Kiedis, you know, dancing around like a wild tribal man, I have pulled girls onto the dance floor where they just pour onto the dance floor and start dancing with me.
That's it. That's energy game.
Yeah. Look, Dean, to your credit, here's what I like. I've seen some of your stuff, man. You use a lot of direct approaches. Respectfully, I don't think your direct openers are all that original, but you know, you're using the same direct openers that a lot of people have been using for many, many years. Okay. But what I like about it is you do it in a very playful way. You'll tell a woman she's stunning and that she's your type. And she's like, well, what's your type? Right. And you're like, you are my type, you know? And like, you basically hold this really strong, playful, direct frame. And I think it's a very, I think it's a powerful technique. It's one that many guys would benefit from practicing and trying because, as you've said, a lot of guys are stifled and in their head. It's something that if you do it regularly and practice it consistently, you can get better and better and better at it. I like the authenticity of it. I think a lot of women do appreciate it as well. But my disagreement here is that it's not the full picture. There's a time to talk to a group of people and not project so much direct interest in one particular girl right off the bat. Here's a big misconception too about indirect game. It's the idea that we're just staying in indirect mode indefinitely, right? We're just sort of walking backwards the whole way to the bedroom with the girl, or, you know, the mystery when he opens his set indirect. Did you know that on average, within 3 to 5 minutes, he's giving the girl an IOI? He's not opening indirect and then just DHVing for like 45 minutes. He opens indirect. He tells a story to the group, allows them to acclimate to his personality. He gets a few indicators of interest from the woman that he's interested in, and then he turns his attention to her and shows her some sort of interest. So when we talk about indirect game, we're not talking about staying indirect forever. We have to show the girl at some point that we like her, right?
I think, honestly, I think it's an illusion. I really think pickup artistry and going indirect and DHVing is an illusion, because I can show you a video right now, if Ice will let me play that, where I do mystery method and I do indirect game and I'm joking around, but the energy in the sub communications of the way that I approach women is exactly the same, and it's the same result. So women can see something deeper. Whether you're going indirect and all these different techniques and calibrating and figuring out what the right way is to approach a woman, a conscious, mature, attractive woman can see through your soul. And it doesn't matter if you go indirect or if you go direct, it makes no difference. I don't truly believe that it's the indirect approach that's actually getting the girl attracted. I think it's your energy, your confidence, your timbre, your voice tonality, your cadence. And that's what's creating the attraction.
And here's something, I'm going to drop a clue for everyone watching. One of the things that people will pick up on unconsciously is the willingness to undergo social wounding, the willingness to step into a situation and be wounded by a social group. I didn't say you want it, but the willingness to undergo social wounding and not need a guarantee, but particularly that first part, the willingness to undergo social wounding is very attractive. It's subtly attractive. You can't put your finger on it, but that willingness to undergo social wounding, I can define that further, which means being ostracized by a group or facing potential humiliation or any of those things. The willingness to undergo that is attractive, because underneath that is unconditional self-acceptance. Unconditional self-acceptance is very attractive to everyone, but particularly to women, because 99% of them don't have it. They're constantly judging themselves, particularly very beautiful women. Oh, you know, my eyelash is out of line. My boobs aren't quite as perfect as hers. That unconditional self-acceptance, and what comes hand in hand with it, the willingness to undergo social wounding, is very, very attractive. Whether you're going direct, indirect, I personally believe the distinction is more about, is it effective or non-effective game? But in any case, no matter which you're doing, that willingness to undergo social wounding is extraordinarily attractive, and it's very, very subtle.
So, Dean, I think that there are a lot of socially calibrated women out there that can tell what you're up to, even if you're going indirect. But oftentimes they appreciate the tact. If they're out with a group of coworkers and you approach and you don't put so much direct pressure on her right off the bat, she may know that you're subtly hitting on her and she may appreciate it. So, and remember this, it's not an either or thing where you're either going direct or you're going indirect. There is a range. That's why directness level goes from 0 to 10 or 0 to -10. So if I'm a -10 indirect, I'm being very, very subtle and covert with what I'm doing. It's going to take a very, very socially savvy woman to pick up on that. If I'm just at -5 in my indirectness, there are socially savvy women that will pick up on what's going on. So, yeah.
Let's play that video that Dean was talking about. The guys in the chat want to see it. So let's give it a try. I hope that we don't have any audio problems for that. There should be a setting where we enable the sound to play through. So just make sure that can work. Are you ready to do that?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
If you can't hear this, just tell me.
Are you able to screen share or something?
Yeah. Can you hear this?
I cannot.
No.
Okay. I'll disconnect my Bluetooth.
Well, let me just say this real
No,
quick.
you would have to wait. You would have to in the share settings, you would have to probably go to advanced or something and then just check share sound, share computer sound, I think it's called.
If this is
All good.
if this is a single set in the daytime, this is very, very far from what Mystery does. Mystery does not like day game. He does not like single sets. Every single boot camp, there's an argument because when it's time for day game, Mystery starts complaining about it. And I'm like, shut up. There are guys here that want to learn day game. So just to clarify, if this is an indirect single set day game approach, it's not going to be quite Mystery method.
There was a massive fight over there, and there were two girls catfighting in bikinis, and then one of their boobs fell out, and I was just stood there like that. I was like, yeah, only in Bali. How do you guys know each other then? Are you best friends?
You put full screen.
I can tell you were related. When I ask a question, you're like looking at each other for a proof. Yeah. You can dress her up, but you can't take her anywhere. You know what I mean? It's like, actually, I'm trying to figure out which one of you is the good cop and the bad cop. I reckon you're the bad girl and she's the sweet girl, even though she's younger. So what are you guys doing here then in Bali?
We've got to our birthdays, so it's funny. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, what are you doing here?
Well, I come over here because I'm setting up a strip club in Bali. So, I flew over. We want to get like some Russian girls and some American girls over here stripping, and so yeah, I got a strip club in the UK, so we want to set one up here.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of men here, so you probably make a lot of money,
Oh,
right?
100%. It's better than OnlyFans. At least I get to meet in person. You know what I mean? It's like, but like social proof and pre-selection and stuff like that. If you're pre-selected and you've got a business, you can travel anywhere you like.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
how long are you here for then?
We've got that for days left, and we go home.
Okay.
I'm here for a couple of weeks.
Well, I mean, you're both absolutely beautiful, but I can't choose both of you. I don't think anyway. So, which one of you are single?
I'm like, that's fine, single, but single.
Does that mean you've been single for 10 years?
Yeah, that's fine.
Red flag.
You lost your screen share, Dean.
Okay. So this is what's going to happen.
Okay.
I'm going to get your number.
Okay.
I'm going to take you.
Cool. So
Okay. Can I give you the M3 model critique, since I am Mystery's wingman and business partner? I probably know the M3 model better than just about anybody except Mystery. I know Mystery's method rather inside and out. So the opener was great. Your energy was on point. You stacked some classic like pickup lines like right after that, some A2 stuff, right? I think you qualified just a little bit early. You immediately launched into like, you know, where are you guys from or something like that, right? So I think you qualified just a little bit early. And then I think when you went into the strip club gambit, I think for a lot of women, that's going to be off-putting. I don't know if that's going to be a DHV story to a lot of women, or if women are going to be put off by that one a bit. Your playfulness levels were good. Instead of going for a phone number, you should have taken the interaction along a little bit further. That would be like critique if Mystery was going to give you some quick feedback on it. You didn't select a target either, is another thing that Mystery would say. You'd say, I can't have both of you. Which one of you is from England? As if basically I'll take either one of you. Mystery would have said you should have selected a target and you know, focused your energy on her. And I think you went for the phone number a little bit quick. You know, you get a girl's phone number within a few minutes. That's not as powerful as having a 10-minute, 15-minute conversation with her. But listen, nobody's said that, you know, your tonality and delivery is not important. If Mystery were here, he would say that's one of the 5 keys to proficient pickup. Structure, material, delivery is the 3rd key. So your energy, your emotional state, your vibe, these are things that we agree that these are all important things. I'm not in disagreement. I just don't think it's the end all be all of game. You still need to teach structure and technique and languaging patterns and stuff like Ross teaches. It's not just about vibe.
My argument is it wouldn't make any difference. The way that I came across there.
So
my
you could have gone
expression,
up to them and said
personality,
like, hey, I want to punch you in the face. Would that be a good opener? Yeah, of course
yeah,
you can say
I
it
think so.
playfully, but
Yeah.
you know, come
There
on.
was a girl in Bali who
Words matter.
have you
Words
seen The
matter,
Green
bro.
Mile? Have you seen the movie The Green Mile?
It's been a while, but yes.
Okay. So there's a scene in The Green Mile where one of the prisoner pisses on the prison guard, and then he gets him back with the hose and he says, "Piss on me." And I was in a nightclub and I remembered that. And I was laughing with my friend, with my business partner, and I turned around to these girls and I said, "Piss on me." And these girls started creasing themselves up and laughing. They invited me to sit in their VIP booth, because if you're in the right state and you're feeling playful and it's congruent with you, you can say whatever you want. You can say, "I'll punch you in the face." I wouldn't recommend it, but if you say it with enough congruence.
Respectfully,
I wanna
Dean,
step in here for something.
respectfully, Dean, you're not saying anything that we don't know. We all know. Oh, we lost
Ice went away.
and the recording stopped.
Ice went away. He'll be back.
Yeah.
Well, this gives me an opportunity.
So we live.
Haven't I heard that? Haven't I heard that? Did you see those? Isn't that
Wait, real quick, Ice, are we live? Because we just lost you.
Yeah, it's still connected. It was just
Isn't that a
my
variation
thing
of
crashed.
the RSD? Oh, did you see those 2 girls fighting outside the club, that opener? And also, did you mention, I didn't hear it clearly enough, Dean, did you say you own a strip club or you visited a strip club?
I said I owned a strip club.
Okay.
I was just following the DHV, the pre-selection.
I think that's a little silly. And finally, women who are on vacation in an exotic place like Bali don't go there to catch the sun. They go there to fuck. So it's something of an empty net. That's all I'm saying. It's like going to a drunk bachelorette party in Las Vegas. It's not your typical situation. I want to
Dean,
drop
like I said, Dean, respectfully, you're not saying anything that we don't know. Obviously, if you're in a good state of mind and your vibe is on point, you can say some outrageous shit and get some positive responses from women, right? But what we say also matters to a certain degree. I would argue that both are important. If I'm giving a speech, okay, I get up in front of a group of scientists, right? And I just have really good energy and really good vibe, but I'm talking nonsense and I don't know anything about science. those scientists are going to fucking look at each other and be like, who the fuck is this guy, right? But if I get up there and I say a bunch of brilliant shit, but I'm super boring and nobody wants to listen to me, well, that's not good either, right? I think the ideal that most guys strive for is good content and also good delivery. Fair enough, if you needed to get out of your head and stop focusing on the content so much and just focus more on your energy, that was a big breakthrough moment for you. And you can effectively teach that to guys who have the same sticking point. But that is one of many sticking points that guys have.
That may
If
well
it,
be true. I agree. And there's neither usefulness or necessity in overcomplicating things. That's number one. But number two, I want to leave everyone with a big gift. I'm not promoting anything. I mentioned the concept of the willingness to undergo social wounding. There's another one, which women have told me before is very attractive, which is care about other people deeply, but don't give a fuck about what other people think about you. If you can take that on, not just as a game, but something you really walk through the world with, you care deeply about others, but you don't give a fuck about what other people think about you. That's extraordinarily attractive. Again, it's subtle, it's undetectable. No one can AMOG you, alpha male other guy,
Mhm.
out of it. I would lead you guys, and I have to leave this because I have work to do, and then my trainer is coming. So the two big points I would leave you with, number one, the willingness to undergo social wounding and to not need a guarantee. That's number one. Actually, number two is unconditional self-acceptance. The willingness and giving yourself permission to fuck up, to make mistakes, to go through the world clunky and stepping over your own dick while you try out new techniques, new skills. Most people won't do that. That's extremely attractive. And number three, care deeply about other people, but don't give a fuck what other people think about you. Those three things are extraordinarily powerful. They trump inner game, they trump direct game, they trump indirect game, they trump, I don't mean to keep mentioning our president's name, they trump night game, they trump day game. Take those on. I gotta let you go. Fun playing with everybody. And remember, cover your stump before you hump. Bye, guys.
Oh my God.
So look,
That's
those are,
a good one.
I have to comment on that really quick. What Ross is doing is those are frames, right? A frame is a belief, accurate or not, about the underlying meaning of an interaction, and it's a set of corresponding behaviors designed to reinforce that belief, right? So not giving a fuck what anybody thinks about you, if you hold that belief and then you act in accordance with that belief, it's kind of an inner and outer game hybrid tactic. It's both a belief and it's a set of behaviors that flow from that belief, right? And I wish Ross was still here because I have to say this. I do believe the game is complicated. Like for some guys, it's very simple. All they need to do is have a few breakthrough moments and boom, I can talk to any woman I want and I can attract women. I have all these options. I'm dating all these women, right? But that is not the case for the vast majority of dudes. Even guys that are really good at the game, that really understand this stuff on a nuanced level, I think would agree that it's not so simple. There are a lot of nuances. There are some complicating factors. And in defense of my system, it is not overly complicated, but it's not overly simplistic. I did my best to take complex subjects and break them down into very simple, easily digested formats. And to the guy that really wants to nerd out on this stuff, he wants to get into the nitty gritty. He wants to build out all sorts of systems and understand the ins and outs of the vortex. You can do that. To the guy that wants to keep it simple, you read the book, you learn the techniques, the tactics, the systems, the 5 paths. There's another one that we didn't touch on yet, but you can use this to game more naturally and spontaneously, or you can become a pickup scientist with this. It's the art and science of the game. It's whatever a guy makes of it. It's you are in control of the vortex. The vortex doesn't dictate your actions. The vortex doesn't say you must do this, 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 and this because this is what women want. The vortex says you decide how you want to build your game.
Yeah, same answer. It's overcomplicated. It's like if you can get to a place where you stop thinking about this stuff and you build an internal trust. And you know that every time you go out, you're in a place where you can express yourself, to the point where every time you leave the house, you meet new women, you can find a girlfriend, you can get lots of dates. I mean, what level are you taking this to? Like, do you have any examples? Do you have any videos to show how much more advanced what you're saying in terms of results achieves?
So think of
Have you
it.
got
Think
any,
of
have you
it.
got any infield? Is there
Think
any
of it.
infield footage of this?
No, I don't do infield.
Why?
I think that there are legal questions that arise from infield, and I don't think they're very ethical either. So to
You blur the
film,
face out, but they can still hear the system working and creating attraction.
listen, I think that infield videos are massively helpful, but I'll piss a lot of people off if I say what I truly think about infield videos, but you are recording a woman without her knowledge or permission, and then you are using it for commercial gain. There are some legal questions when it comes to that, in my opinion, when it comes to reasonable expectation of privacy. Should a woman be able to have a conversation with a man that's flirty in nature and not have to worry about him posting that video without her consent and using it to promote himself as a seduction guru? I think that's pretty reasonable. So I think that there are some legal questions that come up with infield videos, and I don't think they're very ethical. So I have abstained from posting infield videos, but I do give my clients lots of examples. I demo.
I'm
Yeah.
going to add something on top of that. So just 2 days ago, I think there is a Reddit post that has gone pretty fucking crazy in the Warsaw subreddit, the capital city of Poland. And there was a woman saying she got approached 11 times by day gamers in one day. It was something like five before as she was going to work, set 6 or 7 when she was on her way back. It was like at least 11 or 12 day gamers approached her in one day. And I was looking at this. It was being discussed in one of the groups in Game Warsaw. And we did a vote, and we're trying to do this every year now. We started it in 2022. The best city for meeting women voted by pickup artists is literally Warsaw, Poland. So there's within that post, there was a lot of concern from women and from men, but especially from women, of course, that she was being filmed or she didn't know what was going on. And a lot of them are saying like, yeah, I think I was filmed and posted on TikTok and stuff like that. So it does have a lot of pushback, um, unethical, what do you call it? Connotations, legal connotations. And that's just that. Like once you're in a relationship, or I think back to when I was starting out in game, like I didn't want to be a YouTuber. I didn't think I was going in that direction. If only I did have someone following me around, then that would have been pretty interesting. But it comes with that bias of you're doing something with that footage because you're uploading to YouTube or something. It has that creator bias. So I'm just gonna throw that in.
Hey, look, Dean, my
Just think-
arguments are standing on their own 2 feet, though, right? The idea that, oh, you don't do infield, therefore your arguments are not valid. Like, let me ask you this. If I have a product or service that's of value, and I learn a system, a customizable, rearrangeable, adaptable, honest system for conveying the value of my product accurately, efficiently, and honestly, what's wrong with that? Now, the sales analogy isn't perfect because we're the buyer and the seller both when interacting with a woman. We're not just selling ourselves to a woman. We're not just making her sell herself to us, right? In the ideal world, we're both the buyer and the seller. But nonetheless, if you're an experienced salesperson, you can just get into a good state of mind and then just try to convey the value of your product spontaneously. And you very well may be able to do that if you know your product well enough. But what's wrong with developing a system to supercharge your results? Because that's what a system does. It stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. System.
Because in a world, especially this industry, where people are struggling and they don't know where to turn and they don't know what the right method is, and they're thinking about parting with $5,000, $10,000, they want to see evidence that what you're talking about, especially so convincingly, can be evidenced. And you can show that you can actually do it and it works. So if you go on the Game Global School, you can see loads of really basic approaches of me. Very, very plain conversations.
Usually
Normal
short clips.
conversations, but these women are seeing me again. I get a massively high conversion rate on the women that I approach. There's minimal technique in there. If what you're saying is you've developed a system over 3 years and you've taken 3 years to write this book, then it's the most perfect system. And people are going to pay money for that, and they're going to pay money for your coaching. You've got to be able to show that you can do that.
I didn't say it's the most perfect system. I said it's the most complete system as of now. And the reason I said as of now is because knowledge may be infinite. I don't claim to have closed all the gaps in the
Yeah, but
field
where
here, right?
where is it though? Like where can I see this great system?
The evidence is going to be the
delivered?
number one piece of evidence is going to be when my book drops. Okay. Another piece of evidence
That's
here
not
is,
evidence.
okay, here's the thing, Dean. I'll give it to you. I don't have infield footage, and I've never wanted to have infield footage because I think it's kind of creepy. I don't like the idea of filming a woman without her knowledge and consent and then posting it for my own commercial gain. And
This is your job. Your job as a leading coach, as someone who people are going to pay
Too
$5 to
bad.
$25.
Then they don't train with me. If a guy if a guy does a consultation with me and he's like, Erik, I read your book, it's awesome. I've watched you debate Dean. You definitely beat him in the debate, but you don't have any infield footage, therefore I don't want to train with you. Then don't train with me, right? Here's another thing that I don't do. I don't talk about my lay count, right? So many coaches, oh, I've hooked up with 200 women. I've hooked up with 1,000 women. I don't talk about the number of women that I sleep with. I don't secretly record women for my own commercial gain. And if guys think that I'm less valid because of it, so be it. I've been in this game for 20 years. I've been coaching for over 16 years. Mystery has called me a master. I've never called myself a master, but I have video footage of Mystery calling me a master. I've been Mystery's wingman and partner now for a decade. I'm traveling all around the world doing boot camps with Mystery, all around the United States. Forgive me, I'm not doing anything international. It's all within the US. I'm doing live online workshops with Mystery. I'm his US agent and sponsor. I'm engaged, okay? And if you listen to what I'm saying and you test it with your own logic and your own rational mind, you know, you'll find that what I'm saying matches up. And then listen to the testimonials from my clients. Look at my website. This is where arguments go. When you're not defeating arguments based on merit, you then start busting out, oh, well, you don't have infields and you don't talk about your lay count. And, you know, this is where the debate I was hoping wouldn't go in this direction. I really suggest we don't go in this direction because it's only going to make you look bad, brother.
I think it kind of matters. It's not going to make me look
well,
bad.
if you want to go that route, let's talk about it. The only infield videos that I've seen,
it's not going to make me look bad.
That's
because
fine.
I can
That's
show
fine. We
videos
can go this route. The
of
only
women
infield
that are going home with me. So
the only infield videos that I've seen of you are usually really short clips. You're using direct day game openers that we've all been using for 20 something years. You're going for phone number closes within like 2 or 3 minutes. We don't know how many of those girls are converting. Okay.
There are
You
pictures
said
of
one
me with the
time that
girls
you
on
get
text.
8 or 9 phone numbers out of 10, and somebody in the group kept saying, well, post 10 approaches in a row. You posted 3 approaches in a row where you got 3 phone numbers in a row. Whoop-de-doo. Where's the 9 out of 10? You know what I mean?
There's pictures and videos of me on dates with these girls from these approaches that are sometimes bolted on the end of the video. However, where is any ounce of information that your method works? Where's your infield? It's all well saying my videos are short. Where's any of yours at all? Where's any mystery? I don't believe any of you guys, including fucking Baxter and Mystery and yourself, can do this stuff.
The fact that I have very artfully and cordially.
Where are they? Where's the videos?
The fact that I have very artfully and cordially dismantled just about every argument that you've thrown at me, isn't that evidence? I think any guy who's watching this debate it's pretty obvious who knows their shit.
I don't think so.
You figured out one little style of game that works for you, and you've fixated on that.
I've got
now
videos.
You think you've developed something unique. Energy game is not unique. You're just repackaging.
It is unique.
It's not unique. Getting
It
in
is
an
unique.
internal state and being horny and speaking from your true authentic self and not worrying about the actual words. You're basically just teaching natural game, inner game. Like you're using a few little tactics and techniques and calling it energy game. It is
Every
no
time,
match.
if every time you
Your
leave the house,
energy game, your
approach
energy
somebody
game is
and then
no
you can get
match
laid,
for the
then
customizable
surely that's a great method.
superstructure that I've developed.
Because where's your evidence? Where are your videos? Where's your footage? Where's any evidence at all that you brought any women at all? Because all
I'm
I've seen on
engaged,
your
brother.
YouTube is just videos you talking theory.
I'm engaged. I'm engaged.
Okay, that's one woman. That's one. Okay, what else?
Yeah. I've gotten with one woman in my whole life.
Maybe.
Buy my book, guys, The Vortex of Love, How to Get a Woman to Fall in Love with You. Dean,
Anyone can read
listen,
it.
Dean, you've done a great job debating up to this point. I'm telling you, if you start going this route, it's only going to make you look unprofessional. But if you
There's
want to
nothing
go
you
this
can say
route, we
that's going
can.
to make me look unprofessional because I'm living the lifestyle.
You're
Every time I
secretly
leave the house,
recording women
I'm-
without their permission and using it for commercial gain. That's your get out of jail free card. Now all of a sudden the whole debate that we've had up until now is nullified. I've got infield videos, I win. Sorry, dude, it doesn't work that way.
If we're talking about ethics, and
Yeah.
you know all well that most women that you approach are relationship types of women, why are you talking about fucking loads of women?
I'm
I
not
haven't got
talking about, bro, this is what's called a straw man argument. Do you know what a straw man argument is? An
You're talking
example
about
of a
the
straw
system
man
to
argument is
take a
like
woman
if
for an
I were to
emotional system
say,
make them want
Dean,
to sleep with you. Is
if
that not unethical?
if I were to
Is
say,
that not unethical?
no, Dean, let me finish here, okay? If I were to say Dean believes in bringing flowers to girls on first dates, and here's why I disagree with him. You're demonstrating neediness, blah, 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 and you're like, wait a second. I never said bring flowers to girls on a first date. That is a straw man argument. When have I talked about fucking loads of girls? You are putting words in my mouth. This is a straw man argument. I think if a guy wants to live a more sexually adventurous life, that's up to him. And I believe there's an honest and ethical way of going about it. If a guy wants a relationship and that's what he wants, he should do that. If a guy just wants to use this for transformation and to just better himself socially, he can do that too.
Are you a pickup artist coach or are you a relationship coach?
Dating coach for men, brother. I am Mystery's wingman. Okay. I like to call myself a Venusian artist over pickup artist. I really don't like the term pickup artist, right? But because I am the pickup artist, agent, and wingman and US sponsor, because Mystery's a Canadian, I mean, dude, I have ties to the pickup scene that are undeniable.
Okay. So what's the goal of pickup artistry?
What?
To pick up as many women as you possibly
Listen,
can.
Mystery wrote a book, right, called The Mystery Method, How to Get Beautiful Women into Bed. It goes from meeting a woman to beginning a sexual relationship. Wait, really quick. That is a very, very crucial part of the courtship process that guys struggle with. Guys struggle with opening a conversation and getting to sex, okay? Can the mystery method be used to just manipulate a bunch of women into bed? Of course it can, okay? My book is called The Vortex of Love, How to Get a Woman to Fall in Love with You. I'm taking guys from meeting the woman to beginning a loving relationship, which includes sex. And you can use the vortex for short-term, consensual, casual, honest hookups as well. Where is the manipulation here, brother? Tell me a specific example of how I'm teaching guys to manipulate women, please.
So a system where you're spiking sexual emotions in a woman consciously, and you're not letting it happen naturally with natural chemistry. So you know exactly what you're doing systematically to make a woman feel horny, to feel sexual, to create a connection where she's going to want to be with you.
Correct.
So that is the definition of manipulation.
No, it's not.
Sales is
Influence.
Yes,
no. Manipulation.
Because you know what you're doing.
Manipulation.
If a guy goes out there and he doesn't know about pickup and he talks to a girl and have a connection, he's
I'm sorry,
unconsciously
man.
attracted.
Manipulation is where you get somebody to do something that they wouldn't already do, where you covertly convince somebody to be like led astray from their normal path. Okay. I believe in influencing people. I believe in persuasion. When it comes to building attraction, which is element one, I do believe you can use push and pull tactics. I believe you can use covert, indirect tactics, right? You don't have to put your cards on the table right away. It's often not the tactful thing to do. If it's a group situation, especially. It's women would prefer oftentimes that a guy not sexualize things. Now, look, if your intention is to sleep with a girl and she wants a relationship and you're saying and doing whatever you have to do just to get her in bed, and you know very well that you don't want a relationship with her, that is manipulation. That is not game. There's a difference between game and manipulation. Bro, my entire book, The Vortex of Love, talks about integrity and respect and honesty the whole fucking way through. Dude, if you want to try to accuse me of being manipulative, you don't know me. You are equating me with other pickup artists.
So when you open indirect and you ask for an opinion,
Yes.
and your intention is to fuck that girl or take that girl out, and you pretend that the reason that you're talking to that girl is because you want an opinion, you don't want to get to know her, is that not dishonesty? Is that not manipulation?
I would call that indirect. So yes, when it comes to opening the conversation is one of the most difficult parts of the interaction. I think you would agree. Most guys struggle with approach anxiety. Most guys struggle to open the conversation, especially with a group of people. So when you learn an opinion opener and you memorize a scripted opinion opener of some sort to start a conversation, one could make the argument that that's a little bit manipulative, because really your intention is to get to know one of the girls in the group, but really what you're doing is you're telling a story or asking a question to the whole group. Now, again, if it's a story that actually comes from your real life, right? Which I have stories and opinion openers that are from my actual life. Let me give you an example of one. Do you think it's possible to fall in love in 3 days? Before you answer that, let me add some context, okay? My buddy went on a trip to Brazil about a month ago. He was there for 10 days. The last 3 days of his trip, he met a girl, and he swears he fell in love with her. They went on walks, they went to museums, they had some good food together, they had a little sexy time, and now we can't get him to leave the house. He swears he's going through a heartbreak. And I'm like, dude, you didn't fall in love, you fell in lust. We've all experienced vacation lust before. Am I right? Or am I wrong? Did he fall in love? Can you fall in love in 3 days? Is that a thing? End of story. That is an example of an opinion opener, and it's an honest opinion opener. There's truth. There's an actual story behind that opinion opener. So just to open a conversation, I say that's a smart way to open a conversation.
Well, it was delivered well, and there was fluctuations in your voice tonality, and it sounded very real. But are you not bored of asking the same question?
Certainly. When I have to demo this for students and I've taught it to hundreds and hundreds of students, yes, it gets a little repetitive and boring. But again, I don't use opinion openers every time. See, opening direct or opening indirect is usually what the community bases this whole argument on. You can use direct and indirect tactics throughout the life of a relationship. Let me give you another example. I come into the house all sweaty from being at the gym. Let's say I whip off my shirt and my my fiance, forgive me, is checking me out, right? And I intentionally sort of position my body in a certain way to make her feel attracted to me, to arouse her a little bit. I'm using kind of an indirect attraction building tactic on my fiance. Am I being dishonest? I mean, don't we want to turn our partner on? Is it all just, hey, here's what I want to do? There's an art to this too. Women appreciate the song and dance of the game. As long as you're not intentionally misleading people. I don't recommend guys just come up with all sorts of routines that are not authentic and their own, right? There's an honest way to use systems, Dean. There's an honest way to develop material.
Like to see this playing out in a real life environment. You know, like I said, if you're charging guys thousands of pounds and they want to figure out what's the right system, what is it that's going to get me from a place where I'm not meeting any women to being able to go out there and start getting phone numbers, dates, girlfriends, options. I'm just really shocked that you guys
Here's what I do. I teach them the lay of the land. I teach them about all the different schools of thought in the game, including your school of thought, which is like inner game, natural game type stuff. I teach them all the different areas of the game. I teach them the vortex. I teach them how it can be customized. I figure out their wants and needs. How much do they want to use this system versus how much they want to freestyle? I identify their unique sticking points and I create a customized system for them. Or if they don't want to use the system, I teach them the principles and the concepts behind the system so they can use it more naturally. many different ways to help a student. There's not just one way to do it. That's the beauty of the Vortex. Every coach out there is saying, this is what women want, therefore you should be this guy. And here's how to be that guy. Here's my system. Here's what you should say and do. I'm saying there's not one way to attract women. There are many different ways to attract women. Let's explore all of those and let's come up with a custom solution. That's what students want. They want customization. They don't want guy telling them, this is what women want. This is how you do it. I certainly will tell them how I do it. I have my own preferences too. Just because I know this full spectrum of the game doesn't mean I don't have certain preferences for how I do it. I do.
I'd just like to see it. You know,
so you'd like to see it as in you'd like me to secretly record women without their knowledge or consent and then post those videos without their knowledge or consent for commercial gain. Sorry to piss off like every coach out there that does infield, but that is the reality of what's going on. And I'm sorry to the students too, because I do believe that infield videos are extremely powerful. When you can see it being done with your own eyes, which I travel the world teaching boot camps with none other than Mystery from the VH1 show The Pickup Artist, as featured in Neil Strauss's best-selling book, The Game. I travel the world teaching this stuff live in person. There are many people that have seen me game. Here, let me give you another one. John Danaher. Do you know who John Danaher is? You're a martial artist. You're a boxer. He's the coach of Gordon Ryan, okay? Gordon Ryan is the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioner perhaps of all time. John Danaher is his coach. I don't know if there's a bunch of footage of John Danaher competing in martial arts competitions. He is known for creating some of the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioners ever. And as someone who is now engaged, that is what my mission is. My mission is to help guys transform their lives. So my students are my evidence.
Well, I mean, same here. If you go on my YouTube channel, Succeed in Dating, and you look at client testimonials, you're getting guys that are going from not being able to approach at all, being totally confused by this pickup artistry, thinking they have to go indirect, and they spend a day with me, and they've suddenly got their dating life fixed. They figured it out. So, yeah, I can show you testimonials, but what I can also show you,
directness level
in the field.
Remember, directness level is one dimension of tactics. I never said you can't go direct. I go direct all the time. I use direct game. I use indirect game. There's even this 0.0 in the middle where it's not really obvious or not obvious what you're doing. That's like 0.0 on the axis. I can use direct game, indirect game, systems, natural game. I can rely on inner game. This is full spectrum shit here. Your game is one way. It's just you do it this way.
It's not any of that. It's not direct or indirect. It's natural human expression, and that natural human expression comes out, and the woman can see that you're being authentic, and she's attracted to that. I could be talking about a drink.
Disagree. Here's the thing, Dean. I don't even disagree with you. Some students need to get the fuck out of their heads and just get rooted in who they are, connect to their sexuality, and boom, all of a sudden, all the things to say and do are naturally flowing out of them. But some guys, you get them in a really good state of mind, you connect them to their sexuality, and they still don't know what to fucking say and do. Mindset is not everything. You, as somebody who practices boxing, should know that. You can't just get a boxer in a good mindset and all of a sudden he knows how to throw punches.
The more you practice method and structured routines, the more you're getting away from building true confidence, because you're building confidence in what you're doing rather than who you are.
No,
like I said, everyone who's gone through their life has developed some social skills. Well, the problem is the reason they can't attract women, the reason they can't hold a convincing conversation is they're like a rabbit in headlights. They feel disassociated, they feel disconnected, they don't know what to say because they don't actually believe in themselves. So going out to practice routines and figuring out things to say to keep a conversation going is a band-aid. It's not actually fixing the root problem.
For some guys.
Game is for all guys.
No, not
the
for
authentic self, the true self, core confidence is good enough for all guys.
Sorry,
Game
you're wrong.
The problem with pickup artistry is you're learning what a confident man would say. You're learning what a high status man would say.
Venusian artistry. You keep trying to associate me with pickup artistry. What you've done is you've identified all the things that you don't like about pickup artistry, and you're trying to frame me as being attached to that. I'm different than a lot of pickup artists. I'm told all the time, Erik, you're different than Mystery. You're different than a lot of these pickup artists. And my response to that is yes and no. You know what I mean? I steeped in pickup at a very young age. I learned all this shit. I've trained with mystery for a decade. You know what I mean? I know pickup inside and out. But there's more to it than that. And I really don't like the label of pickup artist. Venusian artist, the mirror opposite of a martial artist, a practitioner of the arts of love, is really a terminology that resonates with me more. But Dean, listen, guys being stuck in their head, deer in headlights, and systems and strategies fucking their head up even more. Yes, that happens with some guys, but it's not all guys. Some guys need the systems, the tactics, the techniques. That's the hard shit.
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
think they
that is
do.
the hard part for most guys.
What about naturals that have never learned anything about pickup artist skills and techniques and methods?
They learn shit on their own. Listen, when I first watched UFC, when I was in my junior high and teens, the first thing me and my buddy did was go in the backyard and start choking each other. And we learned how to do a guillotine choke and a rear naked choke and a bunch of stuff just through trial and error. So just like a fighter can get decent at fighting through just experience, right? You can get good at the game just by going out and getting reference experiences. But two people being of equal skill and experience level and everything, the professionally trained fighter is going to beat the untrained fighter. All other
We're not
things
talking
being
about
equal.
playing the guitar or learning boxing. We're talking about human expression. And there are naturals out there that would walk in a club and make you and Mystery and Baxter look like absolute tools. And they've never learned anything
Dean,
about this.
here's the thing. I'm one of those naturals. I had my first experiences at a very young age. I'm not going to get too personal on camera here, but I had experiences probably that I shouldn't have had at a very young age. Okay, I dated a lot of girls. I wasn't the best guy with girls in this small little town that I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, but like I did better than most guys. And the guys that were top tier naturals in my little small town, I was friends with all of them. I have natural game. I had a lot of experience before I ever even discovered this stuff. And when I discovered it, I got sucked into it anyway because I realized, holy shit, I can combine all these technicalities with my natural game. The idea of proactively working on my game, like building it like a skill as if it were martial arts or playing the guitar or whatever, that concept right there blew my mind. Before that, it was just I went out with my friends and I hit on girls, and it was something that just sort of naturally developed. The idea that I could proactively make myself better at this to 22-year-old Erik was a mind-blowing concept. But I have natural game. You don't need to tell me about naturals.
Well, what I'm saying is the top. Let's say the top level of pickup artistry is the people that you're referencing. But then there are naturals out there that have never studied this, and they do way better, and they pull hotter women, more quality women than the top guys in this stuff. Why would you ever need to learn pickup artistry if you can
I would
connect to
argue.
a place?
I would argue that they don't pull as much as the top guys in this field. That's what I would argue. No,
disagree.
I have seen the best of the best of the best guys, and while the top naturals that I know are really, really good, they're not as good as the top guys that are naturals and learned game. The guys that are naturals and learned game are like a superhuman level. That's like a natural athlete that learns martial arts. Like you take two street fighters that are really, really good street fighters and you give one of them technical martial arts training and he is a level above. So all due respect to the natural gamers out there, I agree there's some great naturals. They're not as good as the guys that are naturals and have technical game on top of it. It's just there's no comparison.
It's not the same as martial arts and playing the guitar and learning piano because
Isn't it though?
the
Isn't it
reason
kind of
naturals
similar?
are so good is because they ultimately, utterly, totally believe in what they're doing. They're instinctual. They're highly expressive. They're confident guys. So those are the things that women find attractive.
These
The more
things
you
help.
start learning about pickup artistry, the more you start learning about techniques, it's moving you away from that natural human expression.
These things help. Those things help, Dean. When I first got into the game, I followed all the methods lockstep. I did not question anything. If someone had a website, I fucking did what I was told. I went out there and did it. Then I went through this phase as RSD kind of came into prominence and mystery kind of fell out of the spotlight a little bit. I started following more RSD stuff and I said, you know what? I don't need these tactics and techniques. I'm going to just merge this inner game state transference type stuff, right? I'm going to go out, just get into state, get reference experience. I'm going to game from this positive state of mind. And I saw a surge in my results as well. But what ultimately happened is I came full circle again back to systems and techniques and strategies. And I realized you don't have to do one or the other. You can merge the two. Okay. The Vortex of Love is very much about merging systems and natural game. It's not an either or argument. You don't have to either use systems or use natural game. You can do both. But if you only have natural game, what do you do when your mind goes blank? What do you do when you freeze up? If I'm running natural game and I'm being spontaneous, and then all of a sudden I have a brain freeze, guess what? My programming kicks in. I have techniques and tactics that I can fall back on.
If you go into your logical head, you're no longer in a place where you can deliver that line effectively and congruently. The reason that that line is working in the first place, like you just saw on my video, is because I'm relaxed, I'm grounded, I'm in state. And what I'm trying to say is it doesn't fucking matter what you say. If you're in that state, you're going to attract women because they can see the authenticity,
Dean,
how grounded, how relaxed, and how calm you are.
This is
Because
again,
if it's any different, like I said, okay, you're talking about my infield, 2-minute approaches, very basic, normal conversation. Where are these elite level guys? Where's their footage? I can't see it. When I type in Google and I look for these top pickup artists, I can't see any evidence that that's doing anything at all other than some card tricks on the table where the girl laughs. I can't see that leading to anything else.
okay. So anyway, I had a point.
I think we've been through this topic a lot. Do we have another topic to go to?
Yeah, let's jump to another topic here. I do have a few other points that I wrote down, just even from your opening lines, right? So, you don't need to be totally healed to meet women. Like this idea that you need to heal all of your trauma and you need to fix your inner game completely to attract women, that's not true. Yes, if you have huge gaping holes in your personality, by all means work on them. But if you wait until you are a quote unquote perfectly whole person and then think you're going to go out and meet women, it's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to go out. Ideally, I think guys should go out and try to meet women before their life is perfect.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's a cope in itself. You know, like waiting to live. That's a coping mechanism that will move you into apathy. So perfectionism leads to apathy. So if you think that you need to be totally healed, repaired, no trauma at all, you're using that as a cope to not take action. And it's like part of healing is to move into the world.
Forgive me because I thought earlier on you said if a guy doesn't heal his trauma, then he's not going to be able to, game, basically. He's not going to be able to use anything.
It depends how damaged he is. But no, I agree with you. You can't sit there and think that you've got to wait until you're perfect. Like life is for living. And part of your growth and part of your healing is to be in the world, going out there, expressing yourself, building your confidence, working on your skills. So no, that's not even an argument.
Fair. So, but seriously, Dean, you've never met a natural that also learned the game, that you don't think that those guys supersede guys that are just naturals?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right.
No. I think if a guy's a natural and he's confident with women and he's got lots of options and the ultimate purpose of life is to get in a relationship and meet a woman and have a family, what the fuck is he doing running around trying to bang every single woman every single weekend? Why is he not settled down and married? So what are these guys waiting for? Why do they need to get to the next level? My answer to that is I learned pickup artistry. It made me worse with women than better. Before I found the pickup artists and techniques, I'd slept with 50 women. And then when I learned this stuff and I went into my head, I didn't sleep with any women for 2 years. It was only till I decided to drop it that I started to get success again. But what I'm saying is, if there's a natural out there who he can meet women wherever he goes, or he's a pickup artist, why is he still playing around and doing this stuff? Why is he not settled down? Why is he not in a relationship?
Not every guy wants to settle down, and some guys want to take this to a high level, Like I've always had kind of juxtaposed goals in my head. I've wanted to find a relationship, a wife, a marriage, family, but I've also been drawn to the game and, having wild adventures. And even more than just the end result of getting more women, just the whole process of it, right? Learning this stuff, building these skills, that was very titillating for me as well. The idea of transformation through the game. And look, you finding the community and having your results go down, that does happen to some guys, you know, that can happen to some guys. Here's what I'd like to talk about for a second, because I actually think this is something you and I agree on. I've seen you post about value and about how guys think that they need to demonstrate that they're all different types of value to hook up with women, that they've got looks, money, status, and so forth. And
Mhm.
I agree with you that I think that that is overemphasized in the community. So what that falls under is evolutionary and economic mate selection theory. Scientists have looked at it. We know from studying science that women are broadly attracted to certain things, right? Whether it's for short-term hookups, long-term relationships, the whole sexual market value thing, there is science to back that up. But the problem is most coaches look at that and say, here's what women want according to the science, therefore you should be this guy. There are other mate selection theories out there. For example, there's homogamy theory. That's the idea that we are drawn to people that are similar to us. There's complementary theory. That's the idea that we're drawn to our opposites, right? There's convergence theory. Convergence theory is the idea that we're compatible with a lot more people than we think we are. If you get with somebody and you spend enough time with that person, you will actually naturally become attracted to them. We are compatible with more people than we think. That's convergence theory. The ultimate mate selection theory, in my opinion, it's what's called ideal mate theory, IMT. That means that each person has an ideal in their mind of what they're looking for. They have an ideal picture in their mind of what they're looking for, and they have an ideal sort of how the process goes down. Some people do not have a firm ideal. They're kind of open-minded to meeting a variety of different people in a variety of different ways. That is in and of itself an ideal as well, right? So the more closely we line up with somebody else's ideal, the more they will be attracted to us consciously or unconsciously. Ideal mate theory, IMT, trumps evolutionary and economic theory. It trumps kind of all of the mate selection theories, and it really allows us to use all of them. So what are your thoughts on value and mate selection theory and so forth?
Well, value is the biggest mistake that I'm pointing out is sexual market value. They say you've got to have the money, you've got to have the six packs, you've got to be tall, you've got to have the car. What's actually going on there is your behavior and your character is the thing that's creating the attraction. So if you demonstrate behaviors and values and certain charisma that demonstrates that you could be wealthy, you could be rich, you could be popular, you could be charismatic, that's the thing that's creating the attraction. It's not actually the evidenced proof that you're rich, that you've got the car. It's the character that demonstrates that you could have those things. So people get sexual market value wrong in that sense.
So that's still, though, evolutionary and economic mate selection theory. It's the idea that you either need to have looks, money, status, and all these other trappings, or the woman needs to see evidence that you are that kind of guy or that you are becoming that kind of guy. That all falls under the umbrella of what I call standard value. And standard value holds weight. There's science about it. We don't even need to look at the science. Just look out your window. The guys that are tall and muscular and have social connections and money and looks and all this stuff, they generally have more women in their life, assuming they also have a baseline level of social skill, right? Everything that falls outside of that umbrella, though, of standard value, I call unique value. And this is what I really want guys to focus on, because in my opinion, that's where the real transformation takes place. That's where the real nuance of the game takes place. And that's how you're going to really meet women that are compatible with you. Like, case in point, I meet a girl, she starts telling me that she's giving a public speech in a week, and she's really nervous about it, okay? I just gave a speech a week ago, and I could tell her about that speech, and I could give her pointers to make her feel less nervous. But I also had a dream the night before about giving a public speech, and it was all weird and abstract, and there were different characters in the audience, and there's just some kind of weird oddball type story about my dream I could tell her. Which story should I tell her? Well, if I want to play the probabilities, I should tell her about the speech that I actually gave, because that's a quote unquote high value male behavior, right? But if I'm more interested in my dream and talking about that, she may be one of those girls that's really into dreams and attaching meaning to it. I'm like, oh, you're giving a speech in a week. I had a dream last night about a speech. And she's like, oh my God, tell me about it, right? So
Hmm.
value is really subjective depending on the woman's ideal. If you're going
Okay.
to play the probabilities, stick with standard value. If you want to find somebody that you're truly compatible with, don't be afraid to step out of the bounds of what most people would call high value.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was explained clearly. So what you're talking about is connecting with someone authentically, someone who you'd actually have a compatibility with, by
Mhm.
maybe not stick adhering to the rules of sexual market value and trying to convey classic status, but just expressing your nature, expressing your personality, even if it's like not classically attractive in terms of sexual market value.
That's ideal mate theory right there. And actually, what that is ideal game theory. So, ideal mate theory is like, what is the girl attracted to? Ideal game theory, if you will, is how do I craft a style of game that is ideal for me, that's sustainable, that I can run for a long period of time? Because I do believe that consistency is important, you know? So, I'm all about trying to help guys develop whatever style of game is going to work for them, whether it's more natural state-based game like works for you, whether it's super scientific and technical. Some guys thrive on those technicalities. You don't have to be completely out of your head to attract a woman. Some women are attracted to guys that are very logical and in their head. Does Elon Musk look like he's connected to the present moment 24/7? Have you ever seen an interview with that guy? He's like staring off into space. He's like, yeah, if the launchers propel themselves too far, then you get a differential ratio. And like, dude, that guy is solving math equations while he's being interviewed in front of thousands of people. You don't have to always be present to the moment, right?
I think he's kind of enjoying his introspection. I think he's still kind of got that playful energy, even though he's very, very logical. He's still in some sort of state. He's enjoying that expression of mathematics and science. So I think he's still in state, even though
Fair,
he's very
fair,
logical.
fair. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're
Ross Jeffries is returned. Oh my goodness.
back.
Oh, just
Come
take
back to interrupt me again.
what did you say? You
Ye-
pseudoscientific windbag? No, I
I'm
just
just going
popped
to the
in.
toilet.
I popped in just to see if there was any questions from the audience, and I have to go again in about 15 minutes. I'm finishing up some.
Ross, are you going to read my book? You've criticized it, but are you going to read it for me?
Only if you autograph it in semen.
The king of cringe is here, folks.
But
Like that.
anyway, guys,
I
drop your questions for Ross and the others in the chat. We can go through those. This is the opportunity. Drop your questions.
It looked like it
Ross,
was
let me ask you a question really quick.
sure.
Like, do you see the value in having structured interactions where, like, let's use the M3 model for example, real quick, because you know the
Yes.
M3 model. Mystery is a big believer in build attraction, then build comfort, and then seduce, right? What do you think of structuring out an interaction, and what do you think of my idea of having a structure that can be changed with,
I've
you know?
had a structure and modular structures for speed seduction for over 30 years. There's a distinction between structure
Mhm.
or complicating. Let me finish since you asked me the question. I'm going to give you a thorough answer. Yes, there's structure, and there's also room to play and to improvise. You have to have both. Now, let me draw a further distinction. I think Mystery's idea that you have to do things in a certain order, create comfort, then whatever it is, I don't know the model, comfort, attraction, whatever. First, it was find, meet, and attract, and then it evolved. I'm here to tell you that my students and I have been creating simultaneously comfort and arousal and attraction at the same time. They don't
Mhm.
have to be done sequentially. That's number one.
Agreed.
Number two, There's a distinction between being thorough and being overcomplicated. We can be thorough to the point, thorough is good. Thorough means you're just complicated to the point where people can achieve results. Overcomplicated means that you're just throwing too much stuff there in an attempt to cover every possible contingency and situation. And there comes a time when it's hard, it really genuinely is hard to make that call as to whether you're overcomplicating things. I'm speaking personally too, or whether you're being sufficient. Not always the easiest thing to do. And my third thing, I was being interruptive, and but I was also making a serious point. It's a personal peccadillo of mine, what is the word? Getting older.
Definitions, please. What's a peccadillo?
Peccadillo is something that annoys you. It's a personal thing that annoys me when anyone, in any context, in any field, takes on the terminology of science, the patina, the gloss of science, without taking on the rigors of science. As an example, when people are in the spiritual field and they talk about the law of attraction, I always get on their case about, well, what do you mean by law? Interpreting the scientific term law, it appears like science, but it's not. So yeah, I was picking on you a little bit.
Or the law of state transference, right? There's no law of state transference. There's a tendency for humans to detect other people's emotions, but there's no law of transferring your state over.
Correct. So, to my credit, I've never claimed speed seduction as a science. I've always said it's a model, it's a map, it's an open-ended architecture. It's subject to error. It's open to change. I've had students contribute to it and brought them up on stage and said, "You've done a better job than I have. Teach it." And so that's just my commentary. I pop back in with
Ross,
the hope of getting questions.
Wait, Ross, really quick, you gotta let me respond to that, please. Please let me respond. And I would like to give a quick, thorough response as well. I agree with you that we don't have to build all of these things in a sequential order. So what I've done is I've taken 4 key elements that I believe to be fundamental to developing a loving relationship with somebody. And they can be, that's the key word, they can be arranged in different ways, as linear training wheels for guys, right? I have 5 different paths. You can build attraction and then build a psychological bond, then a physical bond, then an emotional bond. You can rearrange those steps in 5 different orders to give a guy a baseline understanding of some general ways that we can fall in love with a woman, right? But the ultimate place you want to get to is where you're building all of these elements simultaneously and spontaneously and intuitively. So these are just linear training wheels. So I agree with you on that point, okay? I do agree that there is such a thing as overcomplicating things too, right? Oftentimes it's best to give a guy one system to follow, let him follow that system very vigorously, and then teach him other systems and branch off. This is something that ideally I calibrate with my students. If I think my students are only going to be able to handle one system, I'll teach them a basic linear system. Most guys, though, appreciate understanding the multidimensional nature of the vortex. And finally, my last point here, I have borrowed terms from science without claiming that I'm using them in a scientific way. I state right in the beginning of my book, in the opening chapter, that this is nothing more than a mental construct that I have developed and that I have found useful and that my students have found useful. That's what it is. It's just an internal framework that if you learn the concepts, and there is some science to back up my concepts, it's not something I pulled out of my ass. It's rational, it's logical, there's science behind it as well. But the scientific terms that I've borrowed are simply to aid learning. I'm not making any claim of this being a hard science. It's definitely a malleable T with a lowercase t, as you like to say. This is not an uppercase T, it's a lowercase t. So I am in 100% agreement with pretty much everything you just said, Ross.
Now, do you put that disclaimer in your book?
Indeed, I do.
Good for you.
I want you to read it, man. I'm telling you, I know you're probably sick of reading shit, but look, I wrote a kick-ass book, man. I really did. I think you're going to be very I think you're going to be very
Well-
impressed by it.
Well, okay, we'll find out how you can send me a copy. Okay.
I'm not going to sign it in the way that you asked me to, but I will sign it with another method, which is the pen. That's all right.
That's fine.
A different kind of
Do we have
pen.
questions, please?
Yeah, one for me. We got the right people for this. Do you think we could have a part two of the Ross Jeffries versus mystery debate?
Yeah.
The last one was a
yeah.
year ago, and it
I'll
got
come out
over
swinging.
100,000 views.
I'm going to come out swinging because I went easy on him. That was a suggestion that was made to me by someone. Go easy. He's sensitive. This time I'll come out swinging. So yeah, I'd love to do that.
I would have brought Mystery, knowing that Ross was backing up Dean, I would have brought Mystery here, but he is on boot camp right now. And to be honest with you, I thought I could handle my own against both you two anyway. I think I did okay. But yes, I actually do have quite a bit of leverage over Mystery. He tends to listen to what I say if I pitch it to him properly, and I think I could probably get him on another debate for sure.
Interesting. Director, questions in the chat. There's a question for Erik. Is your new book the completion of the mystery method?
I would say that in a lot of ways it absolutely is. Okay, so I learned this stuff at a very young age. I've studied many different methods out there. And with all due respect to my teacher and my sensei, Mystery, I have found things in his method that I don't agree with. I've found little holes in his method. There's quite a bit of there are quite a few guys basically that have said, what do I do once I hook up with the girl? How do I get her into a relationship? How do I get her to fall in love? This very much completes that picture of meeting a woman to falling in love. I had a writer from Psychology Today magazine read the book. He is a vigorous reader. He read this 250,000 word book twice in 5 days, and he wrote me like a 30-page bit of feedback. And he said that the vortex of love is to getting a woman to fall in love with you, what the mystery method is to getting a girl into bed. So if you like Mystery's teachings and you've always wanted to see more from Mystery, I very much think you will appreciate the vortex of love. There's a lot of mystery-esque vibes throughout the book, certainly.
Next question. I'm not sure what this, it seems pretty vague. If you had to define the pros and cons of women in regards to game, what are some? Not sure what that means though. Does that make sense to you guys?
No.
I would like it reworded. I kind of get where
Exactly.
they're going. Can you read it one more time?
If you had to define the pros and cons of women in regards to game, what are some? I think that's kind of vague though. It doesn't, I don't think it
Yeah,
makes
I would
sense.
need that to be expounded on, but very quickly, I'll just say that some of the cons of meeting women are that they're human and sometimes they don't act nicely and they don't act predictably, and you have to deal with the highs and lows of that, right? There's no law out there that says women have to be nice to you. In fact, women can treat you pretty fucking shitty just for walking up and daring to start a conversation with them. That is something that we have to contend with and deal with as men. If you walk up to a group of women and you try to treat them really shitty, there are usually consequences for that. You can be tossed out of a venue. Women can get away with a bit more. But I also think the flip side of that is if you go out and you game enough, you'll learn that there's another type of woman out there who's not all about playing games. She's not all about beating people up. And I try to focus on the positive side of women. I have had wonderful experiences with women. They can be incredibly, even beyond just sex and relationships. There's this adage in the community that you can't have women as friends. That's bullshit. You can have women as friends. And women can be very logical too. This idea that they just live in this emotional land devoid of rational thought, that's bullshit. I've had some very, very high level conversations with women. That's my quick answer.
All right, I don't think we have any other questions. In your background, Ross, you get like a newspaper article. What's like the title on that? It's too blurry for me to see all the time. The one with Tom Cruise, I
Oh,
think.
that's called it's a Dutch word. Vrouw, VROUW.
Oh, okay, it's in Dutch.
It's in Dutch. It means
No wonder I couldn't fucking
a
read
long
it.
time ago, a Dutch newspaper had a section devoted to me, and Tom Cruise, and I don't even, they didn't even interview me. I have no idea what it means in Dutch other than that first word.
Alrighty. Any last things you guys want to talk about? We got no more questions.
I just want to repeat 3 big points I made that people may never have heard before. Be willing to undergo social wounding, care deeply for others, but don't give a fuck about what others think about you, and learn unconditional self-acceptance. There's a form of therapy that I underwent for about 1.5 years that really changed me significantly, even with everything I know about NLP and hypnosis, called dialectical behavior therapy. And dialectical behavior therapy seeks to resolve 2 equally powerful but contradictory urges. One is to learn to accept yourself just as you are, and the other is the desire to self-improve. When you can take those 2 seemingly contradictory dynamics and actually make them work together in concert, you begin to develop some serious skills and the ability to grow exponentially. I pushed Carlberg in a way that's been a little disrespectful because I know he can take it, and it's been a lot of fun. Dean, good to see you. I'm disappointed, Ice, that we didn't have a lot more questions. I was looking forward to having more questions. What happened? Did people puss out?
Come on, guys. What the fuck is wrong with you? Put your fucking questions. What the fuck?
What
Questions.
We were so
on.
thorough. We were so thorough. is what it is.
All right, now I really do have to go because I need to get a little work done, and my trainer is coming late, but she kicks my ass. Thanks, everybody, and
Thanks.
Ice.
I would love to interview your niece. She's
Vanessa
very
Van
intelligent.
Edwards. Vanessa is so busy and so in demand. She did Diary of a CEO podcast twice. She's been with Mel Ross. It's not happening. That I can get a hold of her
I'm
anytime.
not big enough yet.
That's not happening. All right, bye now.
God damn it. Thanks. God damn it, I'm not cool enough. I'm not big enough yet. Alrighty. We'll see in the chat. Yeah. Yeah, any final things you guys want to talk about? And then we'll close it down.
No, not really. I think I clarified everything I wanted to say. If anyone's interested in speaking to me more, asking questions based on the conversation we had today, or seeking some help where I can genuinely help you figure all this stuff out, then find me on Instagram, Dean Raymond Dating. Any questions, just let me know. That's about it.
Yeah, I'll just say if you want to work with me, guys, datingcoachformen.com. I'm also doing a boot camp in Miami with Mystery at the end of September. If you fill out a contact form at askmystery.com/student-application, get to the student application form, you put in code ICE and you get a discount. We're also doing a live online workshop in October. You can also use code ICE for a discount on that. So you can train with me in Mystery. I would be Ablaze when I'm working with Mystery, or you can train with Erik Carlberg, Dating Coach for Men. I am very, very proud of the book that I've written, The Vortex of Love, How to Get a Woman to Fall in Love with You. I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting the interior formatted, the cover design, but it's on the verge of being completed. Been saying that for fucking months. But I am selling advanced copies of that as well in raw PDF form. I don't have a discount code for ICE just yet, but I will be getting a link for ICE for that too. And I look forward to doing an interview with you at some point, ICE, as we've discussed, so I can talk in greater detail about the Vortex. I truly believe that it has the power to transform our industry. It's a much needed breath of fresh air. And it plugs in a lot of the holes that currently exist. It doesn't plug in all the holes because, like I said, knowledge may be infinite. There are AIs that are going to create systems that we can't even fathom in the future. But at this current moment in time, I truly believe that I have developed the most advanced system, and it's not overly complicated. It is learnable.
It may be 650 pages, but it's not complicated.
It is 650 pages, and you know what? It wanted to be as long as it wanted to be. I could have shaved it down, but it is that should be encouraging, I think, for guys, because a lot of books are 100 flimsy pages and then you're done. This is a journey. I wanted to write a the stairway to heaven of dating books. That was in my head as I was writing this. This isn't just a book on meeting women. This is like an 8-minute long epic ass stairway to heaven type of dating book. So
Yeah, we got Dean's Infield on the Infield hub. We started building this crazy fucking thing where we're just like, well, I'm just like, I'm fucking tired of people uploading Infield and then taking it down after a few years and all this shit. What do we just build our own fucking base or fucking hub of Infield and just have everyone's fucking Infield there? So that's what we started doing. We got Dean's on there. We got Mike Pickup Alpha's on there. He did one where he approached 100 women in a single day. So it's like a crazy fucking compilation. And we got a bunch of other people on there. So let me know who you guys want to see on there who isn't yet. That's on this. Just go to gameglobal.net/infield and check for all the things that Erik and Dean were saying. We got links in the comments too for coaching day, for boot camp with Mystery and Ablaze, for example. All that good shit is there. Catch you guys on the other side. Game the fuck on. We got a
Appreciate
debate
you
in a
guys.
few days too, between Deepak Dating and Marcus Wolf. So we got a lot of fucking debates within like 10 days or something. It's getting fucking crazy. I'm running out of popcorn. I got one fucking bag left. I'm gonna have to get some more.
Appreciate you,
All right.
Ice. Thank you so much for everything you're doing, man. This is great. It really is. You've built an awesome platform. Game Global.
Game on.
See you, Dean. Take care, man. Good debate. See
See
you.
you later.